Chapter 1314. Chongqingzi was the founder of the Green Mountain sect, the Master. Then, Chongqingzi was an outer disciple of the Jade Void Palace of Kunlun Mountain. Other than the 12 Golden Immortals, there were only 2 disciples under the Jade Void Palace, Shun Gongbao and Jiang Zia. Chongqingzi, who did odd jobs and listened in on the side, was simply insignificant in front of a direct disciple like Shun Gongbao. According to this, Big Bossly had to call Shun Gongbao Grandmaster, which was simply F***King Bullsh***. It's none of your business. Liu flung his sleeves and ignored Shun Gongbao. He turned and left. Hey, what are you doing? Shun Gongbao raised his eyebrows and blocked in front of Liu. I'm not here to cause trouble. To tell you the truth, I have a good relationship with Chongqingzi. A few years ago, when Chongqingzi was traveling, he somehow provoked the Azura of the Blood Sea and was killed. Speaking of this, Shun Gongbao sighed. Chongqingzi is also unlucky. Although he's not a disciple of the Jade Void Palace, he has a good relationship with I. I saw that you have the evergreen true Qi, which must be related to Chongqingzi. For the sake of old times, I decided to take care of you. I don't mean anything else. Liu was stunned. Shun Gongbao, this guy, was actually so righteous? On second thought, Liu also understood. Yes, Shun Gongbao was such a righteous person. If he didn't value friendship and didn't really want to make friends, how could he have so many friends from all over the world? Cultivators who could cultivate to the immortal realm and above were definitely not fools. Just by saying, fellow Taoist, please wait, Shun Gongbao could call a group of friends for help. It must be because Shun Gongbao was a good friend before. Otherwise, why would anyone help him? Who would care about him? This was a person who was played by the primeval Lord of Heaven as a pawn. Not only was he tricked, but he also tricked a group of good friends. Presumably, after Shun Gongbao became a god, he should have figured everything out and cried his eyes blind, right? The conferred god battle is a scheme between the saints. Since you're all playing chess, I might as well make a move. Liu sneered in his heart and made up his mind. So you are a disciple of the Kunlun Mountain's Jade Palace. Liu cupped his fist and bowed, then said to Shun Gongbao, to tell you the truth, I am not going to hide anything from you. My name is Liu, and I come from the Evergreen sect in the Southern Viewing Department State's Yong Prefecture. Chongqingzi is our sect's patriarch. Evergreen sect? Was this an inheritance left behind by Chongqingzi? I see. Shun Gongbao nodded, and a look of nostalgia appeared on his face. Back then, Chongqingzi listened to masters preaching at the foot of Kunlun Mountain. He comprehended some Taoist meaning and created a volume of Chongqing scripture. Although he is not a disciple of the Jade Void sect, we have a close relationship. I'm deeply gratified to see that he still has an inheritance left behind. Liu could tell that Shun Gongbao's words were indeed sincere. No wonder this guy had friends all over the world. Be it immortals, Buddhas, demons, or devils, he had friends everywhere. Purely from the perspective of friends, Shun Gongbao was indeed a person worth befriending. Unfortunately, Heavenly Lord Yuanshi saw this in him and let him stir up trouble everywhere, leading a large group of friends to fall into the fire pit one after another. If that's the case, I can also do something to this chess piece, Shun Gongbao. Thinking of this, Liu looked at Shun Gongbao with a face full of surprise, and his expression was appropriately filled with respect and excitement. So you are an elder of the sect. Disciple Liu pays his respects, don't. Shun Gongbao hurriedly pulled Liu up, and his expression was somewhat awkward. To be honest, I have tried my best to let your patriarch Chongqingzi become a disciple of the Jade Void sect. Unfortunately, I can't do it. We don't have to follow the order of sect. Chongqingzi and I are like brothers. You can just call me Martial Uncle. **T. Liu felt extremely helpless. Although he did not need to call Shun Gongbao Patriarch, it was still very awkward to call Shun Gongbao Martial Uncle. Disciple pays his respects to Martial Uncle, who asked this alias's seniority to be low. Calling him Martial Uncle was already a promotion of countless generations. Liu had no choice but to bow respectfully. Good. Shun Gongbao was overjoyed and hurriedly pulled Liu up. Brother Chongqing has a successor. I can't help but be happy. Your Chongqing true qi is incomparably pure, and your cultivation has also reached the immortal realm. Moreover, your foundation is solid, and your future is limitless. As he spoke, Shun Gongbao glanced at Li Yu and saw that he had almost no Dharma treasures on him. He hurriedly took out a few more Dharma treasures and handed them to Li Yu. This is the North Sea Cold Elemental Pearl. A fellow Taoist gave it to me. Its power is not bad. This is the flowing cloud brocade belt. It has the ability to ride the clouds and mist, and it can also protect you. This is the 100 Poison Spirit Destroying Needle. These are all for you. Shun Gongbao's face was full of sincerity, and Li Yu's heart was filled with emotions. Sure enough, he was a true man who valued friendship and righteousness. Unfortunately, he had chosen the wrong master and was miserably played by others. Well, I owe you a favor. I'll let you escape from that fate. Anyway, since he was going to go against the sages, it was only right that he cheated the primeval Lord of Heaven. Naturally, Liu did not feel any psychological pressure. Thank you for the treasures, Uncle Master, although these things were practically useless to Li Yu. However, if he used them on this alias, he could use them as a trump card with appropriate modifications, and no one would suspect him. You're welcome. Shin Gongbao laughed loudly and reached out to pat Li Yu's shoulder. We're family. Chang Qingzi is no longer around, and I naturally have to take care of his descendants. Unfortunately, Shen Gongbao's face dimmed again. Unfortunately, although the evergreen scripture is also extraordinary, it's far inferior to the Jade Mirage true teachings. Without the permission of the sect, I dare not impart the true teachings to outsiders. I'm already very lucky to have obtained the evergreen scripture. How would I dare to hope for the true teachings of Sage? Even if you dare to give me the primeval Lord of Heaven's cultivation technique, I dare not cultivate it. If I cultivate the primeval Lord of Heaven's cultivation technique, I will form a karma with him. No matter how Li Yu hid this kind of direct karma, he would definitely be found by the primeval Lord of Heaven. In that case, this disguise was basically useless. Sigh. Master is very strict in accepting disciples, and the true teachings are difficult to impart. However, Shin Gongbao seemed to have thought of something again and pulled Li Yu up. Kid, your opportunity is here. Ha! The goddess of turtle spirit happens to be attending a banquet at the Jade Spring Lake. The Jie School does not care about background. Perhaps I can even ask for a true technique for you. The goddess of turtle spirit, the disciple of the Grand Master of Heaven. Shin Gongbao indeed had a wide range of friends. He had friends everywhere. Unfortunately, Li Yu did not dare to cultivate the Grand Master of Heaven's cultivation technique. The true teachings of a sage could not be cultivated by this alias. Once the karma was formed, the sage would see through Li Yu's background at a glance. Then, he would not be able to continue playing. However, he also needed to give this alias a higher grade cultivation technique to make it easier for this alias to rise. Thank you for your guidance, Uncle Master. Thinking of this, Li Yu also planned to hang out with Shen Gongbao for a period of time. There were still some profound cultivation techniques in the primordial world that were not the true teachings of the sage. For example, the ancient demon race's cultivation technique, the witch race's cultivation technique, and the Bloodsea Nether River's Azure demonic technique. If he made more friends with Shen Gongbao along the way, he would be able to find a suitable opportunity to obtain such a cultivation technique. Host, please wait a moment. A story of getting rid of the system and becoming the system himself. Chapter 13:15. The Jade Spring Lake is the territory of the Golden Wyrm King. Li Yu and Shun Gongbao flew together. As they walked, Shun Gongbao introduced the situation of the Jade Spring Lake to Li Yu. The Golden Wyrm King has an extraordinary background. He is the son of the great sage of the ocean cover of the ancient demon race. A few days ago, the Golden Wyrm King obtained a rare treasure and was very happy. He planned to hold a treasure appreciation banquet. As they are both from the water race and the goddess of turtle spirit has some friendship with the Golden Wyrm King, she was invited. Shin Gongbao turned to look at Li Yu and reminded him, Kid, although I have a friendship with the goddess of turtle spirit, I can't ask for the true teachings of a saint. If you can perform well at this treasure appreciation banquet and make her appreciate you, it is not impossible for her to take you in. These words were spoken with sincerity and sincerity. Thank you for your guidance, Uncle Master. Liu cupped his hands and thanked him. His impression of Shun Gongbao improved. Get ready. Shun Gongbao nodded and brought Liu to the Jade Spring Lake. Not long after, a huge lake appeared in front of them. Although it was called a lake, it was not wrong to call it a sea. It was a vast swamp with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. One could not see the end of it. The water vapor rose and sparkled. At this moment, immortal light shone on the Jade Spring Lake and auspicious clouds flowed. The island in the middle of the lake was decorated with lanterns and streamers. Vermilion coral trees that were 10 feet tall were densely packed like a forest. Countless shining pearls were dotted on top. At a glance, it was as if the sky was dotted with stars. It was extremely bright. Really nouveau riche. There were pearls and corals. The decorations were so luxurious. The aura of nouveau riche broke through the sky. The WIRM race was indeed known for their wealth. Ha! Fellow Taoist Golden WIRM, Shun Gongbao, is here. Stepping on an auspicious cloud, Shun Gongbao's sleeves fluttered in the wind. He looked like an immortal as he laughed and shouted at the island in the middle of the lake. Brother Leopard is here. Come in, come in. On the island at the center of the lake, in a luxurious hall, a man wearing a golden robe and a golden crown on his head, his entire body glittering with golden light, and the aura of a tycoon burst out laughing as he came forward. Greetings, Brother Jean. Shun Gongbao bowed and pointed at Liu. Brother Jean, let me introduce you. This is my nephew, Liu. I brought him here to broaden his horizons. Huh, what young hero, not bad, not bad. The golden WIRM king glanced at Liu and nodded with a smile. Brother Leopard's nephew is naturally my nephew. You're Liu, right? Brother Leopard and I are like brothers. You don't have to be restrained. Just treat this place as your own home. Thank you, golden WIRM king. Liu thanked him with a smile. Why are you being so polite? Come, this way, please. The golden flood dragon king laughed heartily and led Liu and the others to the main hall of the island in the center of the lake. Bright pearls hung high in the hall, shining brightly. The huge hall was already filled with people. Various figures of various shapes and sizes sat at the side of the tables. Some had horns on their heads, some had wings on their backs, and some had green faces and fangs. There were all kinds of demons and ghosts. However, most of the people in the banquet hall were still in human form. There were only a few who had the characteristics of a different species. Brother Leopard is here. Brother Leopard, let's drink until we're drunk today. As they walked into the main hall, Liu and Shun Gongbao sat down at the table at the front. Most of the people in the banquet hall greeted Shun Gongbao very familiarly. Shun Gongbao really has a wide circle of friends. Seeing Shun Gongbao greet all the cultivators along the way, Liu shook his head with a smile. Shun Gongbao added the wrong talent, right? He added his cultivation talent to his social talent. Shun Gongbao, why are you only here now? Behind the table opposite him, a beautiful woman in a moon-white silk robe greeted Shun Gongbao with a smile. The woman in the moon-white silk robe sat at the side of the table, drinking from a wine bottle and answering with a smile. However, even though it was an ordinary action, there was a faint, vast aura circulating in his every movement. As far as the eye could see, it was like a boundless and bottomless ocean. Greetings, senior sister, turtle spirit. Shun Gongbao stood up and bowed to the white-robed woman. Then he pointed at Liu. This is my nephew. I brought him here to see the world. Liu, greet Uncle Master Turtle Spirit. Greetings, Uncle Master Turtle Spirit. Liu knew that the white-robed woman was the goddess of Turtle Spirit, the disciple of the Grand Master of Heaven. He followed Shun Gongbao's instructions and bowed to her. Actually, Liu was laughing in his heart. The disciple of the Grand Master of Heaven. Bai Xiao had been taught a lesson by Ai, and now she had met the goddess of Turtle Spirit. I don't dare to be your Uncle Master. The goddess of turtle spirit smiled and shook her head. You are a disciple of Chan school. I don't dare to be your uncle master. At this moment, the three pure ones had already separated. The relationship between Chan school and Jie school was not very harmonious. Senior sister, you should know that my nephew is the descendant of an old friend, but he is not a disciple of Chan school. Although Shan Gongbao had a good personal relationship with the goddess of turtle spirit, there was really nothing he could do about the matters between Chan school and Jie school. No wonder. The goddess of turtle spirit glanced at Li Yu and nodded. No wonder his cultivation level does not seem to be from Chan school. The two of them exchanged a few pleasantries and sat down. Friends, I'm honored that everyone is gathered at the Jade Spring Lake today. Come, please drink this cup. The golden WYRM king raised his wine bottle and toasted everyone with a smile. Drink, drink. The fiendish demons and ghosts raised their wine bottles. Good wine. After drinking a cup of wine, Liu felt a refreshing immortal spirit aura. It was like spring water that soaked his body, making him feel comfortable. As expected, the wine for a tycoon like the golden WYRM king was not ordinary. This was the first time Liu had drunk high-grade wine since he came to the primordial world. Golden WYRM, you asked us to participate in your treasure appreciation banquet. It's time for you to show off your treasure, right? After 3 rounds of wine, the goddess of turtle spirit looked up at the golden WYRM king and said with a smile, That's right, that's right. Golden WYRM king, it's time to reveal the treasure. The fiendish demons and ghosts in the banquet hall cheered. Reveal the treasure. Liu almost laughed out loud when he heard that. All right, in the primordial world, revealing the treasure was a treasure that was displayed. It made people click their tongues in wonder and praise. Yes, you're right. That was posturing. It was the same logic as showing off one's girlfriend, showing off one's car and watch, and flaunting one's wealth. They were all used to show off. Ha ha! Since everyone is so interested, I'll show you my incompetence. The golden WYRM king smiled pretentiously. His body was brimming with confidence and pride. He waved his hand and took out a strange item from his storage space. It was a red jade disc that was about a foot wide. This jade disc was not a regular square. It seemed to be a fragment of something that had been broken. What treasure is this? Seeing this jade disc, everyone in the banquet hall was puzzled. This thing did not seem to be magical at all. What kind of treasure was it? Liu saw this red jade disc, or perhaps it was a fragment of something, and his heart skipped a beat. Could it be a fragment of that thing? Chapter 13:16. In Liu's eyes, this was not a jade pendant. This was because its essence was not jade, but wood. Furthermore, Liu could clearly sense the aura of a heaven and earth spirit root from this item. Golden Flood Dragon, what's so special about this item? The goddess of turtle spirit looked at this red jade pendant and frowned slightly. Even with her experience as a disciple of a sage, she could not see what was so special about this item. Golden Flood Dragon, stop trying to be mysterious. Quickly show us the power of this Dharma treasure and let us broaden our horizons. Since they could not see the power of this item, everyone in the banquet hall urged the Golden Flood Dragon King to reveal the power of this treasure. All right, the Golden Flood Dragon laughed and nodded. Then I'll show you the power of this treasure. With a wave of his hand, the red jade pendant floated into the Golden Flood Dragon King's hand. The Golden Flood Dragon King glanced at the banquet hall and reminded with a smile, Everyone, this Dharma treasure of mine has an effect on the mind. Everyone, calm down and stabilize your mind. Got it, got it. Quickly show us the power of this Dharma treasure. It was just a demonstration of its power and not an all-out attack. With everyone's cultivation, it was impossible for them to not be able to withstand this little bit of aftershock, right? Everyone urged and did not take the Golden Flood Dragon King's reminder to heart. All right, I'll activate the Dharma treasure now. The Golden Flood Dragon King nodded. He raised a finger and lightly flicked it at the vermilion jade. Ding! The tip of his finger flicked the jade pendant, and the sound of a jade chime rang out. The melodious chime rippled out, and the clear chime rose in spirals. It was like the cry of a phoenix, crisp and melodious. However, hearing this clear chime, everyone in the banquet hall felt as if a sudden clap of thunder had rung out in their minds. Violent vibrations surged in his spirit, as if a stormy sea had been set off. Within this vibration, there was a faint power that could disperse one's soul. If the Golden Flood Dragon King had not used his full strength, if it was not a demonstration but an attack, everyone could clearly sense that this jade pendant could completely shatter one's soul. What treasure is this? Feeling this power, everyone was shocked. They all looked at the Golden Flood Dragon King and asked about the origin of this treasure. The Golden WYRM King's strength was only in the sky immortal realm. Compared to the demons and ghosts of the 3 rivers and 2 rivers, it was naturally much higher. However, compared to the Holy Mother of Turtle Spirit and Shun Gongbao, he was much weaker. However, even the Holy Mother of Turtle Spirit and Shun Gongbao were affected by the clear cry just now. Such a treasure was definitely not an ordinary item. Actually, I don't know what this is either. The Golden WYRM King shook his head with a bitter smile. I obtained this treasure by accident. I discovered that this treasure has the power to disperse the divine soul. Other than that, I have no clue at all. As he spoke, the Golden WYRM King raised his head and looked at the crowd. Today, I've invited everyone here for 2 reasons. First, to appreciate the treasure. Second, I'd like everyone to take a look and see if you can identify the origin of this item. A magic treasure that can attack the soul. The Saintess of Turtle Spirit looked at the jade, annulus, and smiled. I know a few magic treasures that attack the soul. One is Senior Sister Jean Ling's Falling Soul Bell, and the other is Yu Yuan's Soul-Shaking Mirror. Although this jade annulus of yours is extraordinary, it's still lacking compared to the Fallen Soul Bell and the Soul-Shaking Mirror. Fellow Taoist Gui Ling. The Golden WYRM King looked at the Holy Mother of Gui Ling and shook his head helplessly. I came to the Treasure Appreciation Assembly today to show off. Are you here to cause trouble? The other people in the banquet hall were also speechless. You are the personal disciple of the Prime of Tong Tian. You are the disciple of the Saint. The magical treasures in your hands are all bestowed by the Prime of Tong Tian. In your eyes, this item is nothing special, but in the eyes of us, it is already a peerless treasure. Sister Gui Ling, you're too discouraging. Even Shun Gongbao felt that he had suffered a critical hit. He was also a disciple of a sage, but why was there such a huge difference? The goddess of Turtle Spirit had the Dragon Tiger Rui, Zhao Gongming had the Sea Calming Pearl, the 3 Sky Fairies had the Primordial Chaos Golden Dipper, the Golden Flood Dragon Scissors, and so on. All the disciples of the sect of Jia had treasures bestowed upon them by the Prime of Tong Tian. As for him, the disciple of the primeval Lord of Heaven, forget it. He would cry if he were to talk about it. To me, this jade disc is already a peerless treasure. The Golden WYRM King held up the jade disc and smiled at the crowd. Unfortunately, I don't know where this item came from. If I know where it came from and find a way to refine it, its power will be even greater. As he spoke, the Golden WYRM King swept his gaze across the banquet hall. Everyone, if anyone knows where this item came from, please tell me. I will definitely reward you handsomely. The jade disc was made of extraordinary materials and had powerful abilities. To the Golden WYRM King, as long as he knew where it came from, he could use the appropriate method to refine the jade disc and turn it into a peerless spirit treasure. A treasure of this level was already beyond the reach of the Golden WYRM King. I'm sorry, I've never seen such a treasure before, and I've never heard my master mention it either. The Holy Mother of Gui Ling looked at the jade disc in the Golden WYRM King's hand and shook her head. Brother Jean, I've never heard of it either. Shun Gongbao also shook his head. We've never heard of it either. The others in the banquet hall also shook their heads. None of them could tell where it came from, except for Li Yu. This thing is very dangerous. Li Yu looked at the red jade disc in the Golden WYRM King's hand and sighed inwardly. This isn't a jade disc, but a fragment. When the golden WIRM king took out the jade disc, Liu could tell where it came from. This wasn't a jade disc, but a fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. What was the soul-dispersing gourd? All right, it wasn't the Gore brothers. This was Red Cloud's treasure. This was a gourd born from the connate spirit root gourd vine on Mount Bujo. It was born from the same vine as Grand Supreme Elderly Lord's purple gold gourd and Liu Yu's immortal slaying flying saber gourd. A fragment of a treasure was nothing in itself. However, this was a fragment of Red Cloud's treasure. How did Red Cloud die? Because he obtained a streak of primordial violet vapor. He was beaten to death by a group of quasi-sage experts. After killing Red Cloud, these experts still couldn't find the so-called primordial violet vapor. This streak of primordial violet vapor had disappeared just like that. Now, Red Cloud's treasure fragment had appeared. Was there any clue to the primordial violet vapor in this fragment? It could be foreseen that once the golden WIRM King's jade disc was exposed, the consequences would be, haha, the golden WIRM King won't live for long. Liu looked up at the golden WIRM King and shook his head with a sigh. If you obtained Red Cloud's treasure fragment and secretly hid, you might be able to escape. Now you actually want to show off and come to a treasure appreciation gathering. You're courting death. The people attending today's banquet would definitely spread this news. Everything else aside, as long as the turtle spirit Holy Mother showed the image of this jade disc to Skirich, he would definitely recognize it. As for the others, it was the same. Young man, not everyone can show off. If you don't, you'll die. A smile appeared on Liu's face. Chapter 13:17. Liu wouldn't reveal the origin of the jade. It wasn't that he didn't want to show off or shock everyone with a single sentence. But if he did, the golden flood dragon would definitely die. Moreover, Liu's disguise couldn't be used anymore. Without a doubt, Hongyun, 99 soul-dispersing gourd, and primordial violet vapor were the keywords that the sages paid attention to. Even some gods could sense it when someone called their name. Not to mention the sages who had turned into chaos. Once he said these keywords, he would definitely attract the attention of the sages. Golden Flood Dragon, you can't afford this. I'll take this from you and save your life. Liu had to get the shards of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd. He needed to find the primordial violet vapor. This was the only clue he had so far, so he couldn't give it up. However, Liu couldn't use his current identity to get it. Turning to look at the people in the banquet hall, Liu smiled. There are so many demons and ghosts, I can just pick one to be a chess piece. Scanning the banquet hall, Liu quickly found his target. Below Shengongbao, there was a man shrouded in a black robe, exuding a bloody and violent aura. Judging from his aura, he was from the Blood Sea Azura sect. Hongyun's deathback then was related to the Nether River Patriarch. You're from the Azura sect, so it's normal for you to see the origin of this thing and try to snatch it. Liu laughed inwardly. With a flick of his finger, he released a blank system, which silently fell into the black-robed man's wine cup. Then, the black-robed man unknowingly drank the blank system. A chess piece fell into Liu's hands. Actually, Liu had plenty of ways to control a chess piece, so he didn't necessarily need to use the system. However, Liu is currently hiding from surveillance. Once he used the power of the primordial chaos realm, he would definitely attract the attention of the sages. Apart from his system, he couldn't use any other power for the time being. Sigh. It seems that no one can tell the origin of this thing. He carried the red jade and walked around the hall, letting everyone observe it closely for a while. Still, no one could recognize it. The golden WIRM King let out a long sigh and prepared to put away the jade disc. Brother Jean, wait. At this time, the black-robed man who had been attacked by Liu suddenly stood up and said to the golden flood dragon king, Brother Gold, I seem to have heard someone mention something, but I'm not sure. Can I have a look at it? Blood Crow King, do you know the origin of this thing? The golden WIRM King was overjoyed. He hurriedly walked to the Blood Crow King's side and handed the vermilion jade to the Blood Crow King. Fellow Taoist Blood Crow, please take a look. The golden WIRM King was also helpless as he had no clue about the jade pendant. It would be best if he could obtain some clues from the Blood Crow King. The golden WYRM king wasn't worried about leaving the jade disc in someone else's hands. Firstly, they were all friends, so they shouldn't have a falling out over a magic treasure. The other reason was that this was the golden WYRM king's territory. Even if someone had evil intentions and snatched the magic treasure, they wouldn't be able to escape. Actually, I'm not too sure either. The Blood Crow King took the jade disc and observed it carefully. This thing, how is it? The golden WYRM king hurriedly came over and asked hopefully. I suddenly remembered that the ancestral master mentioned a treasure before, but I'm not sure. The Blood Crow King raised the jade disc and touched it with his skinny fingers, as if he was observing and sensing it carefully. It's actually this. It's actually this. Suddenly, the Blood Crow King seemed to have discovered something and let out a cry of shock and fear. Fellow Taoist Blood Crow, you recognized it. You recognize this thing? What is this thing? What's its origin? The golden WYRM king looked at the Blood Crow King agitatedly, surprised and delighted. Blood Crow, tell me. Tell me. Don't keep us in suspense. Tell me what this is. Everyone else in the banquet hall also shouted at the Blood Crow. Can't say. Can't say. This thing can't be touched. People will die. A lot of people will die. The Blood Crow seemed to be extremely terrified as his body trembled and he screamed incoherently. Blood Crow, what the hell are you doing? That's right. We even have 2 disciples of Sage here. None of them were people without backgrounds. With so many of us here, who would dare to provoke us? That's right. That's right. Blood Crow, tell us. Tell us. In the banquet hall, a group of fiendish demons and ghosts slammed the table and shouted, Brothers, this thing is a ferocious item. I can say that whoever takes this thing will die, without a doubt. At this moment, the Blood Crow seemed to have made a decision and looked at everyone with a resolute expression. Brothers, I, Blood Crow, have known everyone for many years. I won't harm you. Brother Golden WYRM, you saved my life, and I have nothing to repay you with. Today, I'll return your life. With that, the Blood Crow waved his hand and kept the blood-colored jade disc. Remember my words. This jade disc was snatched away by me. No matter who asks, you must answer immediately. This way you might not die. Blood Crow, what are you talking about? Blood Crow, what's going on? Everyone looked at each other in dismay, feeling baffled. Brothers, let's meet again in the next life. After cupping his hands at everyone, the Blood Crow soared into the air and flew out of the hall. Blood Crow, are you King snatching my Dharma treasure? For this thing, you're actually disregarding your brotherhood. The golden WYRM king roared angrily and leaped up, chasing after the Blood Crow. Blood Crow, stop. Otherwise, don't blame me for attacking. The golden WYRM king roared as he chased. What the hell is going on? The others in the hall also got up and chased after the Blood Crow. Brother Golden WYRM, I'm saving your life. The Blood Crow shouted as he flew away quickly. Bastard, take this. The golden WYRM king was furious that the Blood Crow snatched the Dharma treasure and left. He waved his hand and slapped over. Boom! A huge golden dragon claw fiercely slammed down at the Blood Crow. Bam! The Blood Crow actually ignored the golden WYRM king's attack and took the hit head-on. With one hit, his tendons and bones were broken and blood splattered everywhere. Brother Gold, brothers, the Blood Crow is saving your lives. The Blood Crow was covered in blood and looked extremely miserable. He turned his head back with a miserable and determined expression. Brothers, no one can touch this thing. Whoever touches it will die. I, Blood Crow, will risk my life to not watch you die. Brothers, let's meet again in the next life. With a desperate roar, the Blood Crow suddenly self-destructed. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out, shaking the heavens and earth. Numerous cracks appeared in the void from the explosion. Under everyone's stunned gazes, they vaguely saw the jade slip into the void and disappear instantly. This, what the hell is going on? The golden WYRM king roared at the sky. At this moment, Everyone could see that the blood crow wasn't trying to snatch the Dharma treasure. Instead, he wanted to destroy this Dharma treasure, or rather, to prevent this Dharma treasure from falling into the hands of others. I'll ask Master. When the Holy Mother of Turtle Spirits saw this situation, she also felt that the matter was very unusual. She hurriedly took out a talisman and sent it over to the Grand Master of Heaven. A moment later, a voice sounded from the Holy Mother of Turtle Spirit's talisman. So it's that thing? That thing has great karma. Turtle Spirit, you don't have to worry about it. Remember, don't investigate and don't ask. Yes. The Holy Mother of Turtle Spirit nodded solemnly. Then, she looked at everyone with a serious face. Did you all hear my master's words? Even the Grand Master of Heaven said that we can't ask. Everyone present was scared silly. Brother Blood Crow, Big Brother, owes you a life. The golden WIRM king howled at the sky, tears falling like rain. Brother Blood Crow. The others also understood that the Blood Crow was really saving their lives. Such deep loyalty and selflessness moved everyone to tears. Then, Big Bosley almost couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 13:18. The Golden Flood Dragon King's treasure appreciation meeting ended unhappily. The treasure used to show off was actually a huge disaster. Furthermore, Shuya didn't hesitate to self-destruct in order to save everyone's lives. This made everyone who participated in the treasure appreciation meeting leave silently with heavy hearts. The only one who benefited was Li Yu. After tricking Shuya from the Blood Sea demonic sect and obtaining the fragment of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd, Li Yu didn't feel any pressure. The cultivation method of the Shura demonic sect couldn't be separated from the soul and flesh. The 9 mother-son, heavenly ghosts, and resentful babies were all extremely cruel. Shuya from the demonic sect, who could cultivate to the heaven immortal realm, must have killed thousands of people. Letting such a demon have some value could be considered as punishing evil and promoting good. Sai, I originally planned to let you enter the GS sect or ask for a true technique for you. I didn't expect something like this to happen. After leaving the Jade Spring Lake, Shun Gongbao sighed with a face full of regret. Martial Uncle, don't worry. I have the evergreen scripture and don't lack any true techniques. Liu didn't care at all and had a calm expression. This matters, Sai. Shun Gongbao sighed and thought. Compared to the sage's true inheritance, what is the evergreen scripture? In the primeval world, your background and your cultivation technique will determine how far you can go. The sage controlled the world. If one wasn't a disciple of the sage and wanted to stand out, then he. Martial Uncle, I've left the sect for a long time and am about to go back. The Evergreen sect is in the Yong Prefecture. Will Martial Uncle come with me? Through Shuya, Liu had already obtained a fragment of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd. He didn't plan to blindly follow Shun Gongbao. Next time, Shun Gongbao shook his head. Fellow Taoist Golden Flood Dragon's Jade Disc has a great origin. Martial Uncle Tong Tian said that there is great karma. I have to return to Kunlun and report to Master. If that's the case, I will take my leave. Liu naturally didn't want to invite Shun Gongbao to the Evergreen sect. He didn't plan to return to the Evergreen sect himself. He was just looking for an excuse. Shun Gongbao's absence was exactly what Liu wanted. He immediately cupped one hand in the other before his chest and took his leave. After parting ways with Shun Gongbao, Liu flew in the direction of the Evergreen sect. He only stopped after flying for tens of thousands of miles. Now that no one is bothering me, I could take a look at the fragments of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd. After finding a mountain, Liu sat cross-legged on the ground and looked at the red jade wall stored in the system repository. System, scan the fragments of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd and extract all the information within. No matter what was hidden in the fragments of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd, it couldn't escape the system scan. The 5-colored light flashed, and the crimson jade wall that was around a foot in radius instantly revealed its true form, which was a red piece of wood that was around an inch in length. The slightly curved piece of wood was like a piece of red jade, sparkling and translucent. It was covered with countless natural wood textures, as if they were the inscriptions of the laws of heaven and earth. No wonder no one discovered this thing. Even the sages couldn't find the existence of this fragment. It turns out that it's covered in a layer of chaotic aura. You could clearly see that the fragment of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd had revealed its true form. There was a trace of chaotic aura emanating from this fragment. Where did this chaotic aura come from? When Hongyun died, she wasn't a sage yet, so she hadn't cultivated chaotic aura. Moreover, this chaotic aura is completely different from the chaotic aura of a sage. Liu frowned slightly. Who covered the fragment of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd with a layer of chaotic aura? Why do they do this? Could it be that the golden Wyrm king obtained the fragment of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd on purpose? Did they deliberately release this thing? Who was this person? Li was sure of one thing. This fragment of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd definitely wasn't a trap. Because he had hidden his tracks, no one knew that Li Yu would appear at the Golden Wyrm King's treasure convention. If someone deliberately released it, then this is interesting. Li Yu sneered inwardly. After scanning the fragment of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd, Li Yu would be able to create countless fragments. At that time, let's see who's more of a scammer. System, display the scan results. Li Yu wanted the system to do a deep scan to see if there were any clues, especially clues about the primordial violet vapor. Scan results. Discovered remnants of the innate red cloud true energy. Can be used to deduce the innate chi true technique. Discovered incomplete innate divine seal of soul dispersing. Can be used to deduce the soul dispersing great technique. Discovered unknown chaotic aura. Speculated to be related to the primordial violet vapor. The system quickly displayed 3 conclusions. Li didn't care too much about the innate red cloud true energy or the soul dispersing great technique. Even without the system, he could easily deduce the energy beneath the chaotic aura. However, the last piece of information shocked Li Yu. The chaotic aura on the fragment of a 99 soul dispersing gourd is related to the primordial violet vapor. Could it be that the aura of the primordial violet vapor turned into chaotic aura and covered this fragment? Was this the reason why the saints couldn't find the 99 soul-dispersing gourd? Was this the source of the chaotic aura on the fragment? System, is it possible to deduce the primordial violet vapor through the remnant chaotic aura? If he could use this method to deduce the primordial violet chi, then Li Yu indicated that the primordial violet chi, buy one get one free. If you want to buy it, hurry up. We're the saints high and mighty. I'll give you thousands of primordial violet vapor. Everyone will have a portion and become a saint. Let's see if you'll be afraid. The system is unable to deduce the 3rd step of the chaotic aura. Huh? The primordial violet vapor is the 3rd step of the chaotic aura? This conclusion shocked Li Yu. The primordial violet vapor came from Pangu. If it was the 3rd step of the chaotic aura, then Pangu was a ruler of the chaotic aura. At this moment, Li Yu connected some of the previous information and had some guesses about Pangu and this eldritch world. Could it be that the ruler of the chaotic aura that Celestial the Arch-Taishian spoke of was Pangu of the eldritch world? This eldritch world is inside the Pearl of Origin, and the Earth before I transmigrated was also inside the Pearl of Origin. In that case, this eldritch world is the origin of all the worlds in the universe? Is this the place of origin of everything? After coming to this eldritch world, Li Yu also discovered that this eldritch world was somewhat different from the one he knew. The current 8 saints were somewhat different from the eldritch saints of the legends. At the very least, Li Yu had never heard of Tathagata becoming a saint in any of the eldritch worlds. If this eldritch world was really the origin of all the worlds in the universe, then the Celestial the Arch-Taishian whom he'd met before was probably also in this world. It seems that this eldritch world is very deep. Li Yu took a deep breath, his gaze resolute. I like to see what kind of eldritch world this is. Chapter 1319. I have to find the primordial violet vapor. Since the primordial violet vapor was something at the third step of chaos, Liu had to find it, whether or not it was the key to becoming a saint. Apart from the system and the green wall spikes, this was the third thing Liu had seen that was at the third step of chaos. This primordial violet vapor had to be related to the Lord of Chaos. Liu still had many doubts about his identity as the son of chaos and everything he had experienced. If he found the primordial violet vapor, he might find new clues. Hong Yun died, and the primordial violet vapor disappeared without a trace. Billions of years have passed, but the saints and demi-saints of this world must have not given up. They must still be thinking of ways to find it. Liu is still far from being able to fight with these saints and demi-saints who had been searching for billions of years and snatched the primordial violet vapor from their hands. After so many years, these saints and demi-saints must have thoroughly researched the process of Hong Yun's death. But Liu knew nothing about the past of Hong Yun's death. If the information was not symmetrical, it was easy to be tricked. This was Liu's experience in tricking people. Of course, he had to be careful to avoid this situation. So, Liu glanced at the fragments of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd in the resource vault and smiled coldly. Aren't you looking for gourd fragments? Then I'll give you some fragments. As long as there was energy, the system resource vault could make a complete 99 soul-dispersing gourd for you, let alone a fragment. System, duplicate the gourd fragment. After reaching the first step of chaos, Liu only needed to use a stream of chaos chi, and the system would immediately duplicate an identical gourd fragment. Duplicating the gourd fragment is not the goal. Naturally, I have to do something inside. After creating a blank system and inserting it into the gourd fragment, Liu was ready to trick people. The blood crow's self-destruction blew the gourd fragment into the void crack. This is something that many people have seen. Liu looked up into the sky and smiled. Now, there must be many people searching the sky for this gourd fragment, right? With a wave of his hand, the gourd fragment that he had just replicated was sent into the primal chaos void. Hee, let's see whose luck is better, or who is more unlucky to find this gourd fragment. Liu smiled and no longer paid attention to the gourd fragments. Instead, he focused his attention on the innate red cloud, genuine chi, and the great divine ability of soul shaking and dispersing. Hong Yun's cultivation technique, the true innate chi technique? It's also very suitable to let this puppet become the successor of Hong Yun. Hiding a secret under another secret was a very safe thing to do. In the untainted world, the descendant of the red cloud was an identity that had to be kept secret. Liu's alias would definitely attract attention in the future. With his identity as the successor of Red Cloud, no one would suspect Liu's true identity. Very good, let's do it. After completely deducing the true innate chi technique and the great divine ability of soul shaking and dispersing, Liu glanced at them and quickly grasped the cultivation technique and divine ability. The true innate chi technique is to cultivate the innate chi. Hong Yun is the first cloud at the birth of heaven and earth. The final realm of this cultivation technique is to go against the innate chi and turn it into the innate chi. Liu had already understood. The true innate chi technique can't only cultivate the innate red cloud, genuine chi. Hong Yun genuine chi is orthodox, but Qing Yun, white cloud, dark cloud, and rosy cloud are all possible. The descendant of the red cloud was also an identity that could not be exposed. At least, it could not be exposed for the time being. Therefore, it was very reasonable to turn the Hong Yun genuine chi into Qing Yun and white cloud genuine chi. While Liu was studying the innate chi in the crack of the void, someone was about to take the bait. That damn Shueya. He's the forefather's disciple. But he didn't give it to the forefather after obtaining such a treasure. Instead, he threw it into the crack in the void. In the void, the blood sea churned as 480 million blood gods roared out, searching all over the chaos. This was the Nether River forefather. After the Golden WRM King's Treasure Appreciation meeting, Everyone knew that the jade disc had extraordinary origins and naturally had to report it to their masters. The Nether River Forefather soon received the news as well. The Nether River Forefather was also involved in Hong Yun's death and was also very covetous of the primordial violet chi. Now that Hong Yun's soul-dispersing gourd fragment had appeared, how could the Nether River Forefather sit still? The void was vast and chaotic. After Shui Ya's self-destruction, the gourd fragment had fallen into the crack in the void. No one knew where it would land. Searching for a gourd fragment in the chaos was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Still, no matter how low the chances were, the Nether River Forefather would not give up. Apart from a Nether River Forefather, the demon master Kuan Peng, Clear Heaven, Primordial Immortal, and even the various saints had sent their disciples to search all over the void. So many people have come. When the Nether River Patriarch sensed the auras in the void, he was infuriated. His hatred for Shuya grew even stronger. Luckily, the saints didn't come personally, or I wouldn't have to search. Even if I found it, I wouldn't be able to take it back. The Nether River Forefather was a demi-saint and was considered a top figure in the primeval world. But everyone below the saints were ants. Demi-saints and saints were on completely different levels. Each of the 480 million blood gods is a clone of mine. My search range is wider than yours, and my chances are greater. The Nether River Forefather dispersed the blood sea and released all of his blood gods, which swept through the void. That's 480 million clones indeed had greater chances. Soon, one of the Nether River Forefather's blood gods suddenly discovered a vermilion jade disc. A fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. Ha! My luck is truly flourishing. This item is fated to be mine. The Nether River Forefather was delighted, and his blood god swept up the gourd fragment. And yet, when the blood god swept up the soul-dispersing gourd fragment, the gourd fragment suddenly rumbled and struggled violently. Damn it! The Nether River Forefather's expression changed when he heard the commotion, and he quickly roared. His true form and the 480 million blood gods rushed out at the same time, rushing toward the fragment. The Nether River Forefather was not surprised by the commotion caused by the gourd fragment. Hong Yun's death had something to do with the Nether River. Even if Hong Yun was dead and the gourd was broken, the treasure would instinctively resist the Nether River's power. I have to return to the Blood Sea as soon as possible. Many people were searching for the gourd fragment in the void, and the commotion just now must have alerted them. He had to quickly take the fragment and run. Otherwise, even the Nether River Forefather would not be able to fend off a group of people. Chapter 1320. That's a fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. Dark River found a fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. The commotion in the air alerted the various elites who were searching for the gourd fragment. Sensing the commotion, everyone rushed over without hesitation. It didn't matter who found the treasure first. The law of the cultivation world had always been that whoever had the biggest fist was right. It didn't matter if they weren't the first to find it. Snatching it was a victory. I got the treasure, but I have to return to the Blood Sea as soon as possible. Elder Dark River withdrew his blood god spawn, picked up the gourd fragment, and turned to run without hesitation. And yet, he still couldn't escape. Fellow Taoist Dark River, this item is fated with the Western sect. Please part with it. A mighty Buddha light surged, and a great Buddha appeared in the void. Golden lotuses bloomed endlessly. Amidst the brilliant Buddhist light, a great Buddha sat on the back of a divine beast that looked like a white elephant with 4 tusks. His palms were pressed together, his face benevolent as he released Buddhist light that filled the air, blocking Dark River's path. Ksitigarbha. Dark River didn't hesitate when he saw the great Buddha. He unleashed the Yuan-Tu and Avicii swords and slashed at Ksitigarbha with endless ferocity. Ksitigarbha wasn't a Buddha, but he was more terrifying than many so-called Buddhas. He swore he wouldn't become a Buddha until hell was empty. Even the Dark River Patriarch's Blood Sea, Azura, had been purified by Xidigarba to become the Azura protector of the demigods and dragons. Xidigarba wasn't as strong as Dark River, but Xidigarba was resilient. He was like an undying cockroach like the Holy Knights, and couldn't be cut down for a while. Although Dark River was known as Dark River wouldn't die as long as the Blood Sea didn't dry, he didn't have an indestructible body like Xidigarba. Damn it! Since Dark River could survive in the primeval world for so many years without dying, he naturally wasn't an idiot. When it was time to be ruthless and decisive, he didn't hesitate. Explode. Just as the UN2 and Avicii swords were about to slash at Xidigarba, Dark River's entire body spawn of blood god whizzing out. Boom, boom, boom. Of the 480 million blood gods, 100 million had self-destructed. An earth-shattering explosion erupted in the void as the heavens collapsed and the earth caved in. A boundless power swept out. Ami, damn it! When Xidigarba saw this, he didn't even finish his Buddhist proclamation. His face turned pale in fright. Buddhist light burst out from his body to block the impact. He patted Truth Listener and turned to run. A fight is a fight, but you Kings self-destruct the moment you come up. Isn't this too crazy? The reckless were afraid of the unreasonable. The unreasonable were afraid of the reckless. And the reckless were afraid of the shameless. Mingy, you're so reckless and unreasonable, and you don't even care about your life. How can we have fun like this? CK off. Mingy roared. The sky was filled with blood-red light, and the blood god's illusions whizzed out. Blood-red light surged as every blood god son was prepared to self-destruct. At this moment, Mingy was already going all out. Back then, he teamed up with Easter Emperor Tai, Di-Jun, and Demon Master Kuan Peng to kill Hongyan. His reputation was tarnished, and he didn't even get anything. Now that he finally found a fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd and saw hope, Mingy naturally had to go all out. As long as the Blood Sea didn't dry up, Mingy wouldn't die. The Blood God Son could be reborn from the Blood Sea if he self-destructed. Don't be a coward, just do it. Mingy turned into a berserker and planned to fight his way out. Actually, Mingy was also helpless. After tricking Hong Yun and tarnishing his reputation, who in the Eldritch world would still be friends with Mingy? 30% was fate, and 70% was hard work. The calamity of heaven and earth was imminent. If he didn't fight, he would only turn into ashes. There was no chance at all. Mingy, you killed my brother Hong Yun back then. Today, I'll avenge my brother. A gigantic immortal fruit tree burst out green light that filled the sky as it swept down at the Nether River Patriarch. The treasure has no owner. Only the virtuous can have it. The clear sky mirror burst out a beam of light and blasted toward Mingy Patriarch. Mingy, everyone has a share. It's not nice of you to take it all for yourself. Demon Master Kuan Peng laughed coldly. He too and Luo Shu burst out a bright light and smashed toward Mingy Patriarch. Primordial chaos, golden dipper, sky-flipping seal. There was an earth-shattering sound. A golden dipper and a seal smashed down. It was as if the void was about to collapse. You forced me to do this. Mingy gritted his teeth and changed his class to terrorist. The rest of the Blood God's Son self-destructed together. The bitter battle caused the sky to fall and the earth to split. Mingy Patriarch, whose face was pale and severely injured, fled like a wild dog being chased. Finally, he escaped into the Blood Sea. Boom! The Blood Sea surged. Mingy stood on the Blood Sea with a ferocious face. Come on, I'm going all out. If you dare to force me, I'll even explode the Blood Sea. I'll destroy this world. Come on, let's see if I dare to do it. Mingy, hearing that, the experts who had chased him all the way to the Blood Sea were all furious. The reckless were afraid of the reckless. The reckless were afraid of the reckless. And the reckless were afraid of the shameless. If you force me into a corner, we'll all die together. At this moment, Mingy had made another breakthrough and officially reached the level of shamelessness. You win. The Blood Sea was part of the primeval world. As long as the Blood Sea was not dry, Mingy would not die. In the Blood Sea, if Mingi self-destructed and blew up the Blood Sea, there would be another Nuwa mending the sky. If they forced Mingi to self-destruct the Blood Sea, even the saints would not be able to withstand the heinous sins. They had no choice but to leave. So, Mingi is the final winner? Liu watched the whole show through the blank slate system in the gourd fragment. Liu was impressed by Mingi's ability to become a terrorist and reach the realm of being rash, unreasonable, reckless, and shameless. I'm afraid that's the reason why Mingi hasn't been killed by anyone until now. Of course, it's none of my business. Liu smiled. Mingi, we've got the soul-dispersing gourd fragment. What are you going to do? Liu had released the bait in order to fish. The red cloud fell, and the primordial purple vapor disappeared. Liu could not find any more clues. In this case, it was very appropriate to give the task of finding clues to someone who knew the inside story. Mingi, I hope you could be a qualified guide. Liu smiled and nodded. I've already hung a blank slate system on the gourd fragment. As long as Mingi touches it with his soul, the blank slate system will be integrated into his soul. So, Mingi, you'll work for me. That was how the mastermind was supposed to be. However, Liu also knew that even if Mingi could find some clues and eventually find the primordial purple vapor, it would not be so easy to get it. This time, Mingi had snatched the gourd fragment, so he would definitely be the focus of everyone's attention. There were probably a bunch of people following Mingi, intending to be the Oriole. So, we have to release some of the gourd fragments. It's best if all the forces have a gourd fragment and we can play together. Isn't that great? Liu expressed that I was so fair and just. Chapter 1321. Very well. The Nether River has become my pawn. With the blank system on the gourd fragment, the Nether River Patriarch was completely in Liu's hands. Even if he found the primordial violet vapor, he could only work for Liu. A smile appeared on Liu's lips as he turned to look at the center of the Nanjiang continent, where he saw a huge city. That was Chaoga. Right now, King Zhou is still that wise king, but he will soon be finished. The investiture of the gods was a cleansing event initiated by the saints to eliminate the calamity of the world. The heavens unleashed their killing intent, the earth unleashed their killing intent, and the people unleashed their killing intent. The three erupted at the same time, eliminating the calamity aura of the world. Therefore, the saints let King Wu attack King Zhou, using the killing intent of a change of dynasty as the fuse of this calamity. The investiture of the gods will definitely divert the saints' attention. If I want to obtain the primordial violet vapor, I can only do it when the saints are too busy. No matter how powerful the Nether River Patriarch was, and even if Liu himself went all out, he would definitely not be able to defeat the 8 saints working together. The only way was to take advantage of the investiture of the gods when the investiture of the gods began, and the saints were fighting among themselves. Only at this time would he be able to pull chestnuts out of the fire and have the chance to obtain the primordial violet chi. So, the investiture of the gods this time has to be even more brutal. Liu had already made up his mind to stir up more trouble in the investiture of the gods and make the fire burn brighter. Apart from that, I can't relax about giving away the gourd fragment either. Each party would have a gourd fragment, and then they would fight for the primordial violet vapor with all their might. No matter who won or lost, there would only be one final winner, and that was Liu. Having made up his mind, Liu sat cross-legged on the ground and focused his mind on the true method of Khanate Chi and the great magic of soul-shaking. On the surface, my disguise is the evergreen scripture and the 10 swords of Green Mountain. It hides the true method of Khanate Chi and the great magic of soul-shaking. This way, no one will think that I have a more well-hidden identity. With Liu's first step of chaos, it would only take a single thought for him to master the innate true method and the soul-shaking and soul-dispersing grand technique. He released a stream of primal chaos chi that was hidden in the deepest part of his body and instantly transformed it into the innate chi true technique. I don't need to be too strong for now. I just need to be at the golden immortal realm. The personal disciples of the sages are only at this level. The vast Xiantianzhen Qi in his body was rolling and circulating. Sometimes it would turn into white clouds, and sometimes it would turn into blue clouds, and then it would turn into dark clouds, colorful clouds, and even red clouds. Liu was able to transform the innate qi cultivated by the innate qi into any form of cloud at will. This was yet another hidden technique. The innate qi true technique also has another divine ability, which is the innate qi grand grappling technique. It's commonly known as a slap to death. Now that everything was ready, Liu smiled and stood up. Now we can go out and trick people. Oh, look for the fated one. In order to deliver the gourd fragments to the various experts at the right time, he naturally needed a method that would not arouse suspicion. Leaping up, Liu whistled through the air and flew in the direction of the southern viewing department continent's Middle Earth. After flying for half a month and crossing thousands of mountains and rivers, Liu finally walked out of the Yong prefecture. After leaving the Yong prefecture, Liu entered the Su province. Outside a small city, Liu landed on the ground. Previously, in order to escape, I gave away thousands and thousands of fortuitous opportunities. Similarly, I now have thousands and thousands of pawns. Liu raised his head and looked at the small city in front of him. A trace of a smile appeared on his face. Here, there's also a long out-yin who received Ai's fortuitous opportunity. Therefore, this long out-yin character possessed mysterious confidence and was very suitable to be used as a pawn. Because this kind of mysterious confidence main character would not have any doubts about any fortuitous opportunities or treasures that were delivered to him. He would only think that it was his own destiny. Walking into the small city, Liu walked to a commercial street and randomly found a vendor. With a flick of his finger, he threw a piece of gourd fragment that he had created into a piece of refined iron ore. The main character, Long Out Yin, picked up a treasure at stall. This is such a normal and reasonable plot. Liu smiled slightly and wandered around the street, waiting for the main character, Long Out Yin, to arrive. Prince Long is here. Wow, that's Prince Long. Indeed, he's unparalleled in grace. No wonder he's a dragon among men. The street in front of him was suddenly filled with a hubbub of voices. A young man in a brocade robe stepped onto the street in high spirits and arrogance amidst the flattery of countless people. Prince Long, have you come Elm Tree Street to look for treasures again? It's said that Prince Long has extraordinary eyesight. Some time ago, he bought a broken sword from stall. It's actually a divine sword. Prince Long is so lucky. He's really a god's favored one. As the young man in the brocade robe walked by, the passers-by exclaimed. Prince Long's head seemed to be lifted even higher when he heard the praises. Humph. You natives, how would you know where I came from? When my soul traveled to another world, I'm the main character. As the main character, I'm naturally a god's favored one. Of course, I'm blessed by the heavens. Picking up a treasure at a stall is my signature move. Prince Long sneered in his heart. He looked at the people around him with disdain and contempt. That piece of refined iron ore. As he was walking, Prince Long's golden finger suddenly sensed something. It found a piece of refined iron ore at a stall next to him. It seemed like there was a treasure hidden in it. Peacock stone, gold on iron, and refined iron ore. Not bad. I'm going to craft a magical item. I'll take all of your ores. Long Out Yin turned his head to look at the stall owner. He waved his hand and threw a piece of divine stone to him. Keep the change. Prince Long bought something again. Could it be that he found some treasure again? Seeing that Long Out Yin bought the ores, the people around him quickly gathered around him. Prince Long, there's a treasure in these ores? Seeing this, the stall owner was a little unsure. If there was really a treasure and he sold it as ores, wouldn't that be a huge loss? Have you gone crazy from wanting to get rich? I'm just buying some random ores. You're not selling? Fine. I'll buy it from someone else. Long Out Yin was very familiar with the plot of picking up a stall. He pretended to be disdainful and turned to leave. Hey, wait. The stall owner hurriedly called out to Long Out Yin. Prince Long, please forgive me. Please forgive me. As he spoke, the stall owner wrapped up the oars and handed them to Long Outyin. Prince Long, this is your oar. Thank you for your purchase. After receiving the oar, Long Outyin opened the package and took out the refined iron ore. He smashed it with his palm and took out a palm-sized red jade piece. Ha ha ha, this is a treasure. Long Outyin held up the jade piece and laughed out loud. He was very proud and arrogant. Wow, Prince Long got a bargain again. Prince Long got a treasure again. In an instant, the entire street was in an uproar. Very good. I've already given away a piece of gourd fragment. Liu looked at the proud Long Outyin and shook his head with a smile. He then turned to leave. Chapter 1322. He gave out a gourd fragment. It could be foreseen that after Long Outyin obtained the gourd fragment, he would definitely use it as a treasure. He might even use it as a trump card to pretend to be cool. Then, when a gourd fragment had already appeared, the treasure in Long Outyin's hand would naturally attract attention. As for whether it was killing and snatching the treasure or a fair trade, that had nothing to do with Liu. The Dharma treasure fragment of Red Cloud could only fall into the hands of the saints or other quasi-sages. No matter which family obtained it, it was the same for Liu. The activity of sending warmth. Oh, the activity of giving opportunities has to continue. Along the way, Liu traveled thousands of mountains and rivers and released more than 10 gourd fragments. Some were thrown into the river and landed in the hands of the demons of the water race. Some were thrown into the wilderness and landed in the hands of the demons who occupied the mountains. Most of the time, they were treated as opportunities for cultivators from all over to obtain. As long as they use the gourd fragments as Dharma treasures, they will naturally attract the attention of others. In the end, these fragments will fall into the hands of the quasi-sages or the disciples of the saints. As for whether it would cause a war between the various parties and cause heavy casualties, His Majesty Emperor Yu naturally did not care about such a small matter. He threw the gourd fragments to cheat others while traveling the world. Half a year later, Liu arrived at Chuntang Pass. Yes, it was Chuntang Pass. Li Jing and Nez's Chuntang Pass. Although the Great God Conferment War is a war between Jie School and Chan School, Niuhua is actually quite involved in it. It was Su Daji who had caused chaos in Chaoga, and Ling Zhuzi who had reincarnated to become the vanguard of the Zhou dynasty. Niuhua was clearly promoting this war. According to the original God Conferment War, Jie School and Chan School fought until their heads bled, but the other saints sat at the side and watched the show. Until the 3 Shao fairies were killed by the heavenly lord of primordial beginning, Tong Tian drew his sword in anger and set up the immortal vanquishing sword array. Then, he was surrounded by the other saints and beaten to a pulp. However, Liu also knew that the primordial world was different from the primordial world he knew. He did not know if the script would continue to develop according to this situation. At the very least, the saints know that I've arrived in the primordial world. No matter how badly they fight, they definitely won't forget my existence. Therefore, Liu had to make the great God-sealing formation fight even more fiercely. It would be best if all the saints were involved. Therefore, Ling Zhuzi, who has a lot of connections, is very suitable to be a breakthrough point. Liu turned his head to look at Chuntang Pass. He looked at the Li residence and saw a brat who was behaving atrociously on the ground. Nez's brain? Hee hee. With a cold laugh, Liu turned around and left. He did not enter Chenang Pass, nor did he have the intention to meet Li Jing or Neza. Instead, he walked out of Chenang Pass and walked towards the East Ocean. Liu found a mountaintop by the sea to settle down. He planned to trick people again. Boom! Huge waves surged and raged. A group of yakshas in the sea rode the huge waves and drove the school of fish to gather together. Roar! After the school of fish gathered, a huge dragon that was hundreds of meters long broke through the waves and soared into the sky. It opened its huge mouth that was filled with sharp fangs and took a deep breath. The azure dragon sucked in water and the tornado swayed. The gathered fish rushed up with the tornado and fell into the dragon's mouth. With a smack sound, the huge dragon swallowed the school of fish in one gulp. Is this the Dragon King's third prince? Liu looked up and saw the dragon eating in the sea. He smiled and shook his head. Therefore, no matter how ostentatious the dragon race is, no matter how luxurious and rich they are, no matter how much they dress up the nobility of the dragon race, they are still ferocious beasts in essence. The dragon palace was luxurious and the dragon race was rich. Usually, they would pay attention to not getting tired of eating and not getting tired of eating. There are also all kinds of immortal fruits, spirit wine, and delicacies. However, the dragon race liked blood food the most. Since you like blood food so much, I'll give you a good one. With a flick of his finger, a drop of dark golden blood broke through the air and silently fell into the Dragon King's third prince's mouth. It was swallowed by the Dragon King's third prince along with the school of fish. This is the blood of the Chaos Essence Dragon. In the world of the Magus God, the Chaos Essence Dragon is the mother of dragons. This is the authentic bloodline of the dragon race. A teasing smile appeared on Liu's face. With a flick of his sleeve, he turned and disappeared. Who knew how many people would be buried in a pit he had buried? The opportunity had been given out. He just needed to let the situation develop. Of course, Liu would not be present. After leaving Chuntang Pass, Liu came to Jizhou. The Marquis of Jizhou, Su Hu, was Su Daji's father. Of course, Liu was not interested in Su Hu. As for Su Daji, well, he was not interested in her either. Body odor. This was not a joke. Even if she became a spirit, she would still stink. However, the current Su Daji doesn't seem to be a vixen, right? All right, there's no need to care about this little detail. Liu smiled and walked into Wing Prefecture City. Then, Liu bought a shop in the city and started a business of jewelry and cosmetics. After recruiting a few workers and hiring an accountant, Liu settled down in Wing Prefecture City and began his mortal life. Of course, he was not joking. He was just waiting for Su Daji to come. It's too obvious to take the initiative to find Su Daji to give her an opportunity. Everything has to look normal. The fate line of a key person like Su Daji was very clear. Liu did not dare to touch it easily. Otherwise, his existence would be exposed. Therefore, as a human, Su Daji had to die. She could only let the vixen possess her. This key fate line could not be changed. Besides, who said that Liu wanted to change this? I want to strengthen the vixen, Su Daji, and make her stronger. I want her to kill all the experts and stir up trouble. A nine-tailed fox who had learned the heaven-devouring demonic skill, and King Zhou with a Khanate dominance body. Presumably, the Great God Conferment War would be very interesting, right? Moreover, there was another. Liu turned to look at the East Sea. The smile on his face became even brighter. There's also the Dragon King's third prince, Ao Bing, who is transformed into a Chaos Essence Dragon. Furthermore, Shangzhou had an extremely ferocious fellow under him. The commander of the Three-Mountain Pass, Kong Xian, was the first peacock in the world. He had the Khanate five-colored divine light. Even Zhuan Ti had been swept into his five-color divine light. He was extremely ferocious. After Su Daji's opportunity is given, I will also give Kong Xian an opportunity to make him even more ferocious. Liu started with the 5 elements cultivation technique. His understanding of the 5 elements Great Tao was definitely countless times stronger than Kong Xian's. Of course, giving Kong Xian an opportunity is part of it. More importantly, I could do an experiment on Kong Xian. An experiment to vaporize chaos. Liu's Qi refinement cultivation also started with the 5 elements. Kong Xian's strength was very suitable to experiment on the possibility of vaporizing chaos. As for whether Kong Xian would be cheated miserably like his previous experimental subjects, such as the old Black Bull and Luo Tian, Liu naturally did not care. This was Liu's great fortuitous opportunity release, system sale, great discount event. Chapter 1323. Is a show in the East Ocean about to begin? When Liu was selling jewelry in Wing Prefecture City, he suddenly sensed the commotion in the East Ocean. A strange smile appeared on his face. East Ocean. In a vast ocean, monstrous waves surged to the heavens. This huge wave was different from ordinary waves. Not only was the surface of the sea surging, but even the bottom of the sea was surging. It was like a cup of water being stirred crazily by a spoon. The entire East Ocean was shaking. The most ferocious and intense part of the waves was near Chintang Pass. This intense shock stirred up the East Ocean, causing the billions of aquatic creatures in the East Ocean to be dizzy. They were swept up by the waves and were extremely miserable. The East Ocean Dragon Palace was protected by the Dragon Palace Array Formation, so nothing happened. However, the stirred sea water swept up the mud at the bottom of the sea and covered the magnificent East Ocean Crystal Palace with mud. It was like a broken stone in a quagmire. The sea area around Chintang Pass is A.O. Bing's fief. What is this bastard trying to do? When the Dragon King of the East Ocean, A.O. Guang, saw the mud-covered Crystal Palace, he was so angry that he stomped his feet and cursed. As for A.O. Bing, he was also very helpless. Bastard, who is stirring up the East Ocean? How preposterous! In the sea area of Chintang Pass, the third prince of the East Ocean Dragon King, A.O. Bing, was lying in the underwater palace under the service of a few clam girls. Suddenly, a huge wave swept over and swept a few charming clam girls into the wave. No one knew where they were thrown to. A.O. Bing, who was in high spirits, was indescribably angry. Who dares to cause trouble in my East Ocean? A.O. Bing reached out and picked up a three-pronged fork. He hurriedly put on his armor and soared into the sky. Although the stirred water was fierce, it did not affect the dragon race, which was a natural water-type divine beast. No matter how intense the water was, it was still water. With a boom, A.O. Bing rushed out of the sea and saw the culprit. It was a 5- or 6-year-old child. He had tender arms and legs and was still very young. The child had a golden collar around his neck and a red silk cloth draped over his body. He was bathing in the sea. The commotion that had stirred up the eastern sea was actually the child using the red silk in his hand to scrub his back. The red silk swayed and fluttered, stirring up the entire eastern sea. That is, A.O. Bing's eyes widened when he saw the red silk. How could there be such a treasure? With just a few swings, it actually stirred up the entire East Sea? Even in the treasury of the East Sea Dragon Palace, one could not find such a treasure. It wasn't that there wasn't a single one. It was just that the stick was the great stabilizing force. It wasn't considered an item from the East Sea. A mere brat actually has such a precious treasure on him. It seems like this fellow's background is not ordinary. To be able to possess such a supreme treasure, he was definitely not an ordinary person. He definitely had a great background. However, so what if he had a powerful background? My East Sea Dragon Palace is the 4 blasphemies dragon god conferred by the Celestial Emperor. We are also a disciple of a saint and the orthodox lineage of the 3 realms. As long as one was not a direct disciple of a sage, no one would be able to reason with him for offending the Dragon Palace. This red silk will be the compensation for offending the Dragon Palace. With that thought, A.O. Bing made up his mind. Brat, how dare you stir up the East Sea and offend the Dragon Palace? I want to interrogate your elders. Quickly surrender. A.O. Bing rushed in front of the child and pointed at him with a 3-pronged fork. He roared, "Interrogate my elders? Oh no." The child who was bathing was naturally Neza. Neza was born as a meatball. Li Jing swung his sword and split the meatball open. Neza emerged from the meatball. Such a monstrous scene was obviously not an ordinary person. Li Jing knew that this was the reincarnation of a demon and ghost. He was very disgusted and never treated Neza as his son. Therefore, the relationship between Neza and Li Jing was very bad. At that moment, when Neza heard that he was going to interrogate the elders in his family, he recalled his father's strictness and was afraid that he would be beaten up again. He was shocked and anxious. No, I can't let him interrogate me. Otherwise, father will definitely beat me to death. Neza waved his hand and swept the heavenly silk of chaos at A.O. Bing. A red light rushed out, stirring the wind and clouds and shaking the world. You still dare to attack? Ao Bing had originally planned to be reasonable and use this kid to reason with his elders. Unexpectedly, Neza did not play by the rules and attacked without saying a word. Caught off guard, Ao Bing was thrown by the heavenly silk of chaos and staggered before falling. Bastard! How dare you be so arrogant? Ao Bing was furious. He turned around and rushed up. He swung his three-pronged fork and smashed it heavily at Neza, who was escaping in front of him. Wow, you actually want to hit me? How dare you hit me? Neza, who had long suffered enough domestic violence, could not stand such grievances. His eyes were red and his face was filled with madness. Neza had already entered a berserk state. Don't provoke the brat. Unfortunately, Ao Bing did not know that lesson. Heavenly silk of chaos. He waved his hand and released the heavenly silk of chaos. Red light shone in the sky and tied Ao Bing up tightly. Neza's cultivation level was very low. Even if he was the reincarnation of Ling Zhuzi, how high could his cultivation level be at such a young age? However, a numinous treasure like the heavenly silk of chaos was unreasonable. There was no need for its owner to activate it with spiritual energy. It possessed endless power. It's actually a dragon? The heavenly silk of chaos tied up Ao Bing. With a push of his divine might, Ao Bing revealed his true form. Upon seeing this dragon, Neza suddenly recalled that his father's armor was still a belt. It was said that the dragon tendon was the best belt. He could extract the dragon tendon and give it to his father as a belt. In Neza's heart, he should not blame me if I give my father a belt, right? All right, this is the terrifying thing about brats. Brats are insensible. I can't tell which is good and which is bad. Therefore, Ao Bing was very miserable. Bang, bang, bang. Neza raised the universe ring and smashed it fiercely at Ao Bing's head. After a few smashes, Ao Bing's brain exploded and he died with a grievance. I already have father's belt. Neza laughed out loud and let go of the heavenly silk of chaos. He walked to the side of the dragon head and prepared to extract the dragon tendon. Suddenly, boom! Ao Bing, who was already dead, suddenly burst out with a bright dark golden light. Dark golden blood light flowed on the dragon's body, and the entire dragon's body instantly turned into a dark golden swamp. It expanded to 10,000 feet and turned into a dark golden dragon that was 10,000 feet long. Roar! The dragon's roar shook the sky. An endless destructive and murderous aura soared into the sky. You are alive again? The brat Neza was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. Kill me? Extract the dragon tendon? Belt? The dark golden light that filled the sky rushed up, and endless destruction and killing burst out from the pair of dragon eyes. Ao Bing roared, opened his huge mouth full of fangs, and bit down at Neza, who was still in a daze. Crack! The heavenly silk of chaos exploded. Crack! The universe ring exploded. Crack! Neza was gone. The chaos essence dragon was the incarnation of innate slaughter and destruction. Even a numinous treasure would be crushed by it. Hee. How insubordinates killed Ling Zhuzi. Nuwa, primordial beginning. Hong Jun, go and wrangle yourselves. Liu sneered in his heart. If you want to play with me, I'll play you to death. He recommended Li Luo's new book, I Am the Demon King. It was a new book by a high-quality old author. It was worth reading. Chapter 1324. Ling Zhuzi is actually dead. When Ao Bing, who had evolved into the Chaos Essence Dragon, swallowed Neza in one gulp, the saints of the primordial world immediately discovered this situation. During the Great God-Confirmant War, King Wu attacked Zhou. Ling Zhuzi was the vanguard of the heavens. Fate had long been arranged by the saint. However, the scene in front of them made Nuwa and Primordial Beginning so angry that their eyes were burning. Preposterous! Nuwa's eyes were burning and her face was cold. Ling Zhuzi was Nuwa's subordinate and also a disciple of the Primordial Beginning sect. Now, he had been killed by Hao Tian's subordinate, the third prince of the Dragon King of the East Ocean. This matter had already disrupted Nuwa and Primordial Beginnings' plans. When the great God-confirmant war was about to begin, such a thing happened. This made Nuwa and Primordial Beginning think deeply. Ao Bing had revealed the Chaos Dragon body. Those who could do that must be other saints. Then, was it the Grandmaster of Heaven, Grand Supreme, Hongjun, or even the saints of the Buddhist sect? The game of chess had already begun. Now, Nuwa and Primordial Beginning had lost a pawn. However, it was still too early to tell who would win until the end. The 9 heavens were calm, as if nothing had happened. However, the surging undercurrents were surging even more. Neza, at that moment, Neza's master, Perfected Tai, had already discovered the fact that Neza was dead. That made Perfected Tai shocked and furious. Neza does have a death tribulation. However, that's the opportunity for him to shed his mortal body and achieve the Green Lotus immortal body. Now, Neza is really dead? He was shocked and furious. Perfected Tai rode a cloud and rushed towards the East Ocean. Evil creature, so was you who did it. From afar, Perfected Tai saw that Ao Bing was still smacking his lips and picking his teeth with his claws. When he saw the fragments of the universe ring and the heavenly silk that Ao Bing had picked out from his mouth, how could Perfected Tai not know that Neza had died in the hands of this evil dragon? Huh? Perfected Tai? Ao Bing was shocked when he saw Perfected Tai attacking. He immediately thought of the reason. Could the brat he ate just now be Perfected Tai's descendant? Perfected Tai was a disciple of the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning. He was also one of the few experts in the great desolate world. Compared to an immortal like Ao Bing, he was countless times stronger in terms of status and strength. Perfected Tai, listen to my explanation. He was not confident in his own strength. When Ao Bing saw Tai attacking, he immediately cowered. Perfected Tai, this brat stirred up the East Sea and offended the Dragon Palace. I tried to reason with him, but he tied me up with his Dharma treasure. He even wanted to kill me and extract my dragon tendons. I had no choice but to take action. He wants to kill me, so don't blame me. Ao Bing saw that Perfected Tai was charging over menacingly and hurriedly explained. Bastard, who do you think you are? How can an armored person like you compare to Neza? Even if he wanted to kill you, if you dared to fight back, it would be a capital offense. You dare to kill him? No one in the world can save you. Bastard die. With a flick of his horsetail whisk, Perfected Tai roared angrily. The horsetail whisk in his hand exploded with divine radiance and smashed heavily at Ao Bing. Neza was the reincarnation of Ling Zhuzi. He was both a disciple of Goddess Nuwa and a third-generation disciple of Chan School. How noble was his status compared to Ao Bing, the third prince of the Dragon King? You're just a rich second-generation heir from small place. How dare you compete with the top disciple of the saint of the primordial world? You actually dare to kill? You're going to turn the world upside down. Boom! The horsetail whisk smashed down, causing the world to tremble. Thousands of white threads were like sword beams that filled the sky. They sliced through the void and destroyed everything as they slashed at Ao Bing. Spare. In Ao Bing's heart, Perfected Tai was extremely powerful. He could not block a single move from him. Just as he begged for mercy, before he could finish, the horsetail whisk exploded with light that filled the sky and slashed heavily at Ao Bing. Boom! With a shocking bang, Ao Bing was sent flying hundreds of times. Blood splattered all the way. However, I'm not dead. Moreover, I only suffered superficial injuries. I'm already so powerful. At that moment, Ao Bing was overjoyed. His confidence swelled rapidly. Ha ha! So I'm already so strong? So I'm already so powerful? Tai, I'm not afraid of you anymore. With a wild roar, the dark golden dragon body rushed up. Endless destructive and murderous aura soared into the sky and shook the world. Tai, you can't tell right from wrong. You're so unreasonable. Today, I'll teach you a lesson. With a swipe of his claws, the 5 claws unleashed 5 beams of sword light that could destroy all things and slaughter all living beings, sweeping toward primordial immortal. The chaos essence dragon was born with the connate Tao of slaughter and destruction. It was extremely ferocious and violent. Damn it! How can this vile beast be so strong? He had thought that he would be crushed to death casually, but he did not expect to kick an iron plate. Perfected Tai's face turned pale as he hurriedly used all his strength to deal with A.O. Bing's violent attack. Boom! 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 An earth-shattering battle occurred. From the East Sea outside Chintang Pass to the edge of the South Sea. From the edge of the South Sea to the mouth of the North Sea. This commotion alarmed countless people. That's Perfected Tai? He's fighting with a dragon. Furthermore, he seems to be at a disadvantage. When they saw the dragon and man fighting in an earth-shattering manner, the cultivators and fiendish demons from all over were shocked and dumbfounded. In the eyes of ordinary cultivators, the dragon race might be an unattainable existence. However, compared to a direct descendant of a saint like Perfected Tai, the dragon race was nothing. However, there was a dragon that was chasing Perfected Tai away. What was going on? Evil beast, you've done all sorts of evil and brought disaster to all living beings. Today, I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and eliminate you. A roar sounded in the void. A middle-aged man with a tall hat and wide belt appeared in midair. He held a black seal in his hand, and with a flip, the black seal smashed down at A.O. Bing's head. Heaven upheaval seal. When the seal pressed down, it was as if even the void was about to collapse. The boundless power was like the collapse of the universe, destroying the world. Guang Chengzi, seeing the heavenly upheaval seal attacking, A.O. Bing roared. Is this the disciple of the Jade Void sect? Is this the disciple of the saint? You can't defeat me alone, so you're attacking me together? Aren't you shameless? Subduing demons and eliminating demons naturally means eliminating evil. Why do I have to talk about rules with a monster like you? Guang Chengzi shouted loudly with a righteous expression. However, the corners of his eyes twitched slightly. He slapped down the heavenly upheaval seal even faster. Do you think I want to attack together? I have no choice. Neza is dead, and Junior Brother Tai has yet to get back at him. Master's face is black. How can I not attack? Fellow Taoist Guangqing, A.O. Bing is a divine general of the heavenly courts. Even if he is wrong, the heavenly courts should punish him. In the 9 heavens, a bronze mirror that illuminated the universe floated down and blocked the heavenly upheaval seal. Hao Tian had attacked. As the spokesperson of Hong Jun and the supreme being of the 3 realms, Hao Tian wanted to save face. A.O. Bing is a divine general of the heavenly courts after all. Even if he has to be punished, he has to tell me, right? What Chan School is doing is clearly not taking me, the supreme being of the 3 realms, seriously. Very good. I want you to be in chaos. Liu sneered and retracted his gaze. Once you're in chaos, I will be able to do whatever I want. Chapter 1325. Now, I can play chess too. Ling Zhuzi had died. He had implicated Niuhua, primordial beginning, and Hong Jun. After such a thing happened, they would definitely not be harmonious in the upcoming God Confirmant War. Perhaps the subordinates of the heavenly courts would also be involved in the God Confirmant War and walk on the God Confirmant platform. At that moment, apart from the 4 blasphemy dragon gods, there were only the old subordinates of Hao Tian and the Jade Pool in West Kunlun in the heavenly courts. They did not have many people. That was also the reason why Hao Tian had no choice but to save A.O. Bing. A.O. Bing's bloodline had returned to its ancestral roots. To Hao Tian, he was a peerless general who could fight Perfected Tai to a draw. Naturally, he would not give up easily. However, A.O. Bing had killed Ling Zhuzi and chased Tai away. The heavenly lord of primordial beginning had lost all his face. He would definitely not let A.O. Bing off easily. Regardless of whether A.O. Bing died or not, regardless of the outcome, the feud between the 2 families had been formed. That was in line with Li Yu's intention of stirring up trouble. Shop owner, how much is this pearl hairpin? A pretty maidservant walked into Li Yu's jewelry shop with a young girl whose face was covered by a white veil. During this period of time, all the noble ladies in Wing Prefecture City were flocking to this jewelry shop. The style was novel and the shape was exquisite. Every piece of jewelry was like an exquisite piece of art. It was simply beautiful and incomparable. When the noble ladies gathered, everyone was embarrassed to greet others without a piece of jewelry from the beauty hall. Hence, the number one beauty of Wing Prefecture, Su Daji, could not sit still after being slapped in the face with exquisite jewelry. Very good. Su Daji is indeed here. Li Yu sat in the rear hall and watched Su Daji enter. He watched as Su Daji bought more than 10 sets of jewelry in one go and smiled. With a flick of his finger, an invisible light spot silently landed in a golden hairpin that Su Daji had bought. The hidden chess piece has been set up. I have the upper hand again. At that moment, Su Daji was still a human and not a vixen. However, Liu had already left something behind for Su Daji. When a vixen took over the body, Su Daji would be able to play a role. The fox spirit was ordered by goddess Nuwa to bring chaos to Chaoga and destroy King Zhou's empire. Judging from this main mission, the fox spirit had undoubtedly completed it very well. But what is the fate of a vixen? Now that the mission was completed, the chess piece was of no use and was casually thrown away. Li Yu was such a kind and upright gentleman. How could he watch such an unfair thing happen? Of course, he had to help when he sees injustice on the road. Vixens also have human rights. Oh, demon rights. Even a vixen could control her own fate. Therefore, I will give you this opportunity. The fox spirit had two sisters, the jade peepa spirit and the 5 colors golden chicken spirit. 3 monsters who have learned the demonic sky devouring technique, plus King Zhou, who has the innate dominating body. I really look forward to seeing how chaotic the apotheosis war will be. I've already sent the cheat to Su Daji. I don't need to continue selling jewelry anymore. This shop was originally controlled by Li Yu behind the scenes. He had never shown his face. With a flick of his sleeve, Li Yu turned and left. Although Hong Jun was the heavenly Tao, it was impossible for him to pay attention to everyone at all times. Without leaving any traces, Li Yu's actions naturally went unnoticed. The next step is to go to the 3 Mountains Pass and give Kong Xian a fortuitous opportunity. Kong Xian, the first peacock after the creation of the world, was a very important chess piece. This was also a part of Li Yu's plan. After leaving Wing Prefecture, Li Yu rushed to the 3 Mountains Pass. Li Yu didn't use any great divine abilities. He just flew normally. It took him 2 whole months to reach the 3 Mountain Pass. The 3 Mountains Pass was a huge pass city. The commander of the 3 Mountains Pass, Kong Xian, who led 100,000 elite troops, gave up being a monster and wanted to be a general. This made Li Yu feel that it was a little strange. Which monster with Kong Xian's strength didn't occupy an area, rule a mountain, and live a carefree life? With Kong Xian's divine abilities and cultivation, he hid his identity and background and became a general in the Shang dynasty. Something was wrong with him. It seems like he wants to repay a debt of gratitude. Forget it. I can't be bothered with this matter. Li Yu shook his head and walked into the adjacent city outside the 3 Mountains Pass. The pass city was an important military area. Ordinary people couldn't enter. Li Yu wanted to hide his tracks and not cause a commotion, so he could only think of a way in the adjacent city. Kong Xian's connate 5-color divine light even defeated Kundi. Although he can't suppress it, it's still very terrifying. Kundi was a saint at the second step of the chaos. Logically speaking, the power below the chaos was meaningless to a saint who had turned into the chaos. However, Kong Xian relied on the connate 5-color divine light to defeat Kundi. In that case, Kong Xian's connate 5-color divine light probably has some power of the chaos. This was the main reason why Li Yu looked for Kong Xian. If Kong Xian's connate 5-color divine light could combine the 5 elements and have some power of the chaos, it would be very useful for Li Yu's own path of turning into the chaos. So, I have to study Kong Xian. Although the primordial immortal Qi was a method to become a saint, he couldn't put all his eggs in one basket. Liu didn't just pin his hopes on the primordial immortal qi to reach the second step of the chaos. Liu also started with the 5 elements cultivation method. The 5 elements combined with the Xianwang qi and soared to the sky with a step. If Kong Xian's connate 5-color divine light could give birth to the chaos, it would be very useful for reference. However, I have to find the right opportunity to give Kong Xian an opportunity. Liu walked into the 3-mountain pass adjacent city and looked around, looking for a suitable opportunity. There's the slaughterhouse, a cow butcher. After walking around the city, Liu found a more eye-catching place. It was the slaughterhouse. 3 cows are slaughtered every day, washed clean, smeared with spices, and sent into the city. With such an obvious characteristic, how could you not notice it? This must be for Kong Xian to eat. Kong Xian turned into a human and was the commander of the 3-mountain pass. In essence, he was still a monster. Although at Kong Xian's level, it didn't matter if he didn't eat or drink. His monster nature made him very interested in blood and flesh. A monster that didn't eat humans was already a good monster. Eating a few cows was indeed nothing much. Very good. I can use this point to give Kong Xian an opportunity. Liu walked past the slaughterhouse and saw the butcher holding a butcher's knife and sharpening it on a whetstone. He had an idea in his mind. He flicked his finger slightly. Crack! The butcher, who was sharpening the knife, suddenly found that the whetstone had shattered. Bastard! Buttface, get your ass over here. The butcher was sharpening the knife when the whetstone shattered, almost cutting his hand. He was so angry that he roared. Buttface, what kind of whetstone did you find? It shattered after a few strokes. Hurry up and find another one. Yes, master. Buttface rushed out and looked at the shattered whetstone. He quickly turned and ran to the cliff outside the city to find a suitable whetstone for his master. Thus, Big Boss Li's opportunity came. Chapter 1326. Master, I found the best whetstone. A moment later, Buttface rushed into the slaughterhouse with a long black stone that was about 3 feet long. Not bad at all. The butcher nodded his head when he saw the long black stone. Not bad. Hurry up and bring it over. I need to sharpen my knife. It's time to slaughter the cows. Buttface quickly placed the whetstone in place. The butcher picked up the butcher's knife and sharpened it on the whetstone. After a while, the butcher used the butcher's knife to slaughter 3 cows. He washed them clean, smeared them with spices, and sent them into the city. 3 Mountains Pass, General's residence. A young man wearing golden armor and a golden crown was sitting in front of a table. 2 long feathers extended from his crown, and they were quivering. This person was the general of the 3 Mountains Pass, Kong Xian. In front of this Kong Xian, there were 3 wooden racks, each of which had a whole cow smeared with spices hanging on it. Sigh. After so many years, I still can't stop my appetite for good food. Kong Xian looked at the 3 cows and shook his head with a smile. He stretched out his hand, and a cow flew out from the wooden shelf. He grabbed the cow leg with both hands and held it in front of him. He licked his lips and bit into it. This smell. After swallowing a piece of beef, Kong Xian's body suddenly shook. This smell. 5 elements, qi. There seemed to be some power of creation in it. What's going on? He waved his hand, and the other 2 cows on the wooden shelf were pulled over. He opened his mouth, and a huge mouth appeared. He swallowed all 3 cows in one gulp. As expected, all 3 cows have the same smell. Although it's very faint, but this smell is extraordinary. If I can find the source, it will be very beneficial to my cultivation. Kong Xian had been cultivating for hundreds of millions of years and was stuck at the peak of the golden immortal stage. All these years, Kong Xian had been thinking of ways to increase his cultivation level, but he had no idea. As the first peacock born at the beginning of the world, he could be considered a figure of the same generation as the sages. Kong Xian was also arrogant. He did not intend to become a disciple of the sages. He wanted to break through with his own strength. Unfortunately, his innate foundation was too strong, making it extremely difficult for him to break through to the next realm. Kong Xian had been stuck at the peak of the golden immortal realm for countless years, unable to find an opportunity to break through. However, the beef just now actually allowed Kong Xian to find the opportunity to break through. Man, Kong Xian raised his head and shouted towards the door. "What are your orders, General?" A personal guard hurriedly ran in. "Where did you buy the beef today?" Kong Xian pointed at the wooden frame and asked the personal guard. All this while, the beef that Kong Xian ate was sent from the slaughterhouse in adjacent city, so he had never noticed the smell. Today's beef actually had that profound and mysterious aura, which made Kong Xian feel that this beef might have been bought from somewhere else. "General, did the beef today come from the slaughterhouse in adjacent city?" The personal guard looked at Kong Xian doubtfully. "General, is there a problem with the beef? That damned butcher Wong. How dare he fool the general? I'll go arrest him and punish him." "No, the beef is fine." Kong Xian stopped the guard and waved his hand. "It's nothing. It's just that today's beef tastes better. I was just asking." "You're dismissed." Kong Xian wouldn't tell his personal guards the reason for his breakthrough in cultivation. "Yes, I'll take my leave." The personal guard bowed and left. "The beef is still from the slaughterhouse in adjacent city?" A glint flashed in Kong Xian's eyes. He got up and walked out of the mansion. He stepped on the clouds and turned into a cloud that floated above the slaughterhouse. Where did that aura come from? Kong Xian looked down from the clouds and carefully searched the slaughterhouse. The cows in the cow pen don't have that aura. If it's not because of the cows, then what is it? Kong Xian was naturally very concerned about the opportunity to break through his cultivation. He released his divine soul and carefully searched the slaughterhouse. Then he found his target. That whetstone, that mysterious 5 elements aura came from that whetstone. Kong Xian's divine soul sensed that a black whetstone placed at the side of the slaughterhouse faintly emitted a mysterious 5 elements aura. Kong Xian, who was born with the power of the 5 elements and possessed the innate 5-color divine light, discovered for the first time that there was an even more mysterious 5 elements power in this world. What kind of treasure is this? Without hesitation, Kong Xian reached out and sucked the whetstone into his hand. "The treasure is in my hands. Let's go back and take a closer look." The clouds changed, and Kong Xian instantly returned to the military headquarters. He placed the whetstone in his hand on the table and released his divine soul to sense it carefully. "So, there's something hidden in this whetstone." He reached out and smashed the whetstone. A 5-color jade stone that was about an inch in diameter rolled out from the black stone. The 5-colored brilliance shone. The 5 elements intertwined and flowed endlessly, revealing a mysterious aura that seemed to be the creation of heaven and earth and the birth of all things. As expected, this is my fortuitous encounter. This is my opportunity. Kong Xian hurriedly grabbed the 5-colored jade stone and laughed, unable to contain his joy. He took a deep breath and calmed his mind. Kong Xian released his divine soul and probed the 5-colored jade stone. He carefully sensed the 5 elements intertwined and the birth of all things in the jade stone. Wong, the 5-colored jade stone trembled, and 5-colored brilliance shone. The 5 elements intertwined with the black-yellow qi, and the black-yellow qi produced all things. All kinds of creation scenes appeared in Kong Xian's mind. I see. Seeing this scene, Kong Xian's body trembled, and he suddenly understood. My connate 5-color divine light only focuses on the Tao of attacking and fighting, the Tao of annihilation of the 5 elements, and the Tao of annihilation of all things. However, I neglected the Tao of the 5 elements and the birth of all things. My Tao is complete. My Tao is complete. Annihilation and birth were the complete Tao of the 5 elements. Kong Xian hurriedly waved his hand, and banners flew out, setting up a large array in the hall. Then, he calmed his mind and sat cross-legged on the ground, seriously comprehending the Tao of creation and death of the 5 elements. Boom! The 5-colored brilliance soared into the sky. The 5 elements intertwined, and all things were born and destroyed. Endless strange phenomena appeared above Kong Xian's head. The five elements intertwined, and all things were born and destroyed. This is my Tao. His body trembled, and the five-colored brilliance burst out and then retracted in an instant. It was flawless and perfect. This was a quasi-sage. Ha ha ha. After cultivating for billions of years, I finally broke through today. The Tao of the five elements is in my heart. The birth and death of all things are in my hands. Kong Xian laughed loudly and stopped cultivating. The five-colored jade stone in his hand seemed to have exhausted all its power and turned into a gray powder. You're happy, but I'm not. The opportunity was delivered to Kong Xian, and he had achieved his wish, breaking through to the next realm. However, Liu found that Kong Xian's connate five-color divine light did not have much research value. The reason why his connate five-color divine light could defeat Zhuani and have some chaotic power is entirely because of the five elements magnetism annihilation divine light. The five elements annihilation drew out a chaotic destructive power from the great destruction of matter. Liu had known about this for many years. This destructive chaotic power was only a momentary eruption and was completely worthless. Fortunately, Kong Xian was still a very valuable chess piece and a qualified fighter. Otherwise, Liu would have suffered a loss this time. Chapter 13:27. The preliminary preparations are done. Before the God Conferment ceremony began, these hidden pawns could be released at the crucial moment and play a huge role. Of course, Liu had never forgotten that his main goal was to vaporize chaos and reach the second step of chaos. These hidden pawns and methods were all used for the main goal of vaporizing chaos. So, Liu raised his head and looked at the horizon. His eyes shone when he sensed the gourd shards that he had released previously. The shards of the 99 soul dissipating gourd have appeared. As the successor of Han Yun, how can I not retrieve the relics of my sect? It was time for the successor of Han Yun who had been hiding to reveal himself. Two Realm Pass. At the border of the Nanzhan section continent and the Shiha Ox continent. In the vast primordial world, the Nanzhan section continent was mainly the habitat of the human race. The Shiha Ox continent was the territory of the Buddhists and demons. Apart from the symbolic soldiers of the Shang dynasty stationed at the Two Realm Pass, there were more cultivators. Humans, demons, Buddhists, Taoists, fiends, and even itinerant cultivators could be seen everywhere at the Two Realm Pass. This was a place where people mixed together and news spread more quickly. A unique treasure has appeared. It's suspected to be a relic of Han Yun, a shard of the 99 soul dissipating gourd. In the area of the Two Realm Pass, an unknown piece of news circulated among the cultivators. Some scoffed and did not believe it at all. However, some paid attention to it. Although it seemed calm near the Two Realm Pass, there were undercurrents surging as though a storm was about to come. Young Master Long, this is the Two Realm Pass. On this day, a high-spirited young cultivator wearing a brocade robe walked into the pass of the Two Realms with a smug look on his face, surrounded by a group of people. Rumor has it that the Two Realm Pass is a place where countless experts gather. Young Master Long scanned his surroundings with a proud expression. Now that I've seen it today, foo-foo. Young Master Long did not finish his sentence. However, everyone could tell what he meant. Young Master Long is a genius and a dragon among men. You naturally don't fancy ordinary itinerant cultivators. That's right. Young Master Long is peerless and blessed. How can ordinary people compare to you? The people around young Master Long, one after another, complimented him nonstop. Ha ha! The proud young Master Long raised his head and laughed. He was in high spirits as he patted his mount and stepped into the Two World Pass with his head held high. Where did this little brat come from? How dare you speak such arrogant words? The boasting of young Master Long and the others made a demon clan man with a pair of horns on his head unable to continue listening to them. You dare to be so arrogant with just this little bit of ability? Come, let your grandpa teach you how to behave. The monster race man took down a giant hammer from his shoulder and roared towards the sky. Brat, eat my hammer. Boom. A loud sound rang out. Strong winds surged, and heaven and earth rumbled. The demon race burly man raised his heavy hammer and smashed it down viciously at young Master Long's group. The wind and clouds surged. The huge hammer was like a huge mountain. When it smashed down, it was as if the sky and earth were collapsing. Help! Seeing the power of this attack, young Master Long's admirers were all scared out of their wits and screamed. As for the other people in the two-world pass, they all turned a blind eye to this. The two-world pass was filled with all sorts of people. Fighting and killing were simply too normal. If there were not a few fights and deaths every day, the people in the two-world pass would not be used to it. That brat is dead for sure. Seeing the demon race man smashing his hammer down, the nearby passers-by shook their heads. This demon race man, with two horns on his head, was called the Barbarian Bull King. He was born in the Gile Mountain of the western Heox continent. His cultivation was unfathomable. Moreover, he possessed remarkable magical powers and boundless strength. He was regarded as an illustrious figure in the border of two worlds. A human brat who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth actually dared to speak such arrogant words and angered the barbaric Bull King. He was courting death. However, things were not as they had imagined. Bastard, how dare you attack this young master? When the barbaric Bull King smashed his hammer down, young Master Long did not panic at all. Instead, there was a cold smile on his arrogant face. He waved his hand, and a ray of red light flashed. A vermilion jade pendant floated in front of young Master Long and exploded with red light. It was dazzling. The divine power of a Dharma treasure, subdue demons and eliminate demons. Young Master Long shouted loudly. A clear sound suddenly came from the vermilion jade pendant. It was like a melodious jade chime, quiet and elegant. However, the moment this clear sound rang out, all the nearby cultivators felt their souls tremble. It was as if they were about to leave their bodies and dissipate into thin air. This was just the aftermath. If the aftermath had such divine power, then the barbaric Bull King who took this hit head-on, boom! The clear sound of the jade chime rang out. The barbaric Bull King's body froze as if he had been petrified. Then, the heavy hammer fell out of his hand, and he fell to the ground with a bang, no longer breathing. The barbaric Bull King is dead? He couldn't even take one hit? What kind of Dharma treasure is that? At this moment, all the nearby cultivators were shocked and dumbfounded. They looked at young Master Long with shock and fear, but more than that, there was greed. Such a precious treasure, if I can snatch it, just as these people were harboring evil intentions, a Buddhist light suddenly flashed in front of them. A young monk wearing a moon-white monk robe with red lips and white teeth walked over on lotuses. Amipa. The young monk put his palms together and chanted a Buddhist chant to young Master Long. He smiled and said, "Benefactor, the treasure in your hand is fated to be with me. I'm here to beg for alms." You bald thieves are really shameless. At this time, another beam of clear light flashed across the sky. A handsome young man in a Taoist robe appeared in front of the crowd, holding a jade flute. You're clearly robbing, but you're still talking about begging for alms? You're really too shameless. The young man holding the jade flute sneered and raised the jade flute in his hand. Look, I'm not like you. I don't look for excuses. I'm here to rob. He waved his hand, and the jade flute let out a burst of sobbing sounds. It was as if tens of thousands of people were crying and heaven and earth were mourning. It was a miserable and sorrowful scene that made one's heart ache. My life is so bitter. The moment the flute sounded, young Master Long's admirers cried as if they had lost a loved one. This is the Great Compassion Mantra. The Great Compassion Demon Lord is here. Run. The cultivators of the two worlds passed nearby screamed when they heard the flute. All of them covered their heads and fled pathetically. I'm not a loser. I didn't take it. I didn't get cuckolded. I didn't. At this moment, young Master Long suddenly roared into the sky amidst the sobbing of the Great Compassion Mantra. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was ferocious as he shouted some strange words. The Great Compassion Mantra triggered the saddest thing in his heart. However, The great compassion demon lord did not understand the saddest thing in young Master Long's heart. The pseudo-transmigrator created by Li Yu was just that happy to see. All right, I don't understand your sadness. However, the soul-dispersing gourd fragment is mine. He reached out, and the vermilion jade pendant on young Master Long's waist flew out and landed in the hands of the great compassion demon lord. Chapter 1328. Don't tell me you've forgotten about me, benefactor Great Mercy. When the Great Mercy demon lord caught the soul-dispersing gourd fragment in his hand, golden Buddhist light shone. The young monk put his palms together and smiled. This item is fated to be with me. Please part with it, benefactor Great Mercy. You're quite capable, monk. The Great Mercy demon lord turned to look at the young monk with a surprised expression. My Great Mercy mantra can't affect your Zen mind. Who are you, monk? I'm Golden Cicada. The handsome monk with rosy lips and white teeth bowed at the Great Mercy demon lord with a smile. Demon lord, this item is fated to be with me. Please part with it. Golden Cicada. The Great Mercy demon lord's brow twitched at the name. Golden Cicada, the eldest disciple of the Gautama Buddha in the central whirling world? My humble name is not worth mentioning. I am indeed Golden Cicada. The Golden Cicada master was still smiling. He took his time, looking calm and composed. Even if you're a disciple of a saint, you're dreaming if you think I'll surrender. The Great Mercy demon lord roared, and the jade flute in his hand let out a mournful sound, as if all living beings were wailing, as if heaven and earth were mourning. Despite using all his might to cast the Great Mercy mantra, the Great Mercy demon lord did not linger in the fight. Instead, he turned and ran. No matter how confident the Great Mercy demon lord was, he did not have the confidence to beat Golden Cicada, the eldest disciple of the Gautama Buddha. He was a direct disciple of a saint, one of the most powerful and influential figures in the primeval world. Being a disciple of the Nether River Patriarch, the Great Mercy demon lord did have a strong backing compared to ordinary cultivators. But compared to a disciple of a saint, he was nothing. If he did not run, would he be captured and imprisoned for 1,000 years, forced to abstain from meat and pray to Buddha every day? Amiba, why are you so stubborn, benefactor? The Great Mercy demon lord turned and ran, only to find that Golden Cicada suddenly appeared before him. Understand my ass. The Great Mercy demon lord roared in rage and swung the jade flute in his hand. Explode. Self-destruct. That was the Nether River Patriarch's legacy. Devil Monarch Great Compassion seemed to have grasped the essence of the technique. Be it the timing or the decisiveness of his self-detonating magical equipment, it was very similar to Nether River Patriarch style. Boom! With a deafening explosion, Demon Monarch Great Compassion detonated his jade flute magic treasure. Then, without even looking back, he turned around and ran. Benefactor, the sea of bitterness is boundless. Repent, and the shore is at hand. After running for a while, the Golden Cicada, whose body was shining with golden light, appeared in front of him again. It seemed that the explosion of the Dharma treasure just now had no effect on the Golden Cicada. Damn it, the direct disciples of Gautama Buddha were indeed powerful. Demon Lord Great Compassion suddenly felt a sense of helplessness. He thought to himself, I'm afraid I can't bring this soul-dispersing gourd fragment back. Even if I can't have it, I won't let you have it easy. At the thought of this, the Great Compassion Demon Lord gritted his teeth and roared into the sky. Hong Yun's treasure, the fragment of a 9x9 soul-dispersing gourd has appeared. His majestic voice spread out in all directions and reached the 9 heavens. Hong Yun's treasure, fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd, a peerless opportunity. After this roar, everyone near the 2 realms pass heard the news. Combined with the previous rumors, the appearance of a supreme treasure was indeed true. Streaks of light soared into the sky, whistling as they rushed up. Amit Ba. At the sight of this, the Golden Cicada looked bitter as he chanted a Buddhist proclamation and let out a long sigh. Hee hee, even if I can't have it, You won't have it easy either. The great compassion demon lord smirked menacingly as he grabbed the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd and threw it at the streaks of light behind him. The fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd is here. Ah, the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd? Mine, mine. After the great compassion demon lord threw the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd into the crowd fell into chaos. Killing, fighting, it was a complete mess. Umaba, with a benevolent expression, the golden cicada took a step forward and stepped into the midst of the fight. A majestic Buddhist light rippled out. Like a golden ripple, the majestic Buddhist light surged out and enveloped all the cultivators in the surroundings. Every single cultivator was enveloped by a dazzling golden light screen. That was the diamond protection spell. It was not an offensive dermic art. Instead, it was an excellent augmentation dermic art. However, after the augmentation of the diamond protection spell, they could not move at all. With a sweep of the golden light, the thousands of cultivators froze in midair like statues made of gold. Umaba, I'm not good at fighting. Please forgive me, everyone. The golden cicada was all smiles as he reached out and grabbed the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. This item is fated with me. I'll accept it shamelessly. Damn it. Damn Baldy. B****. The itinerant cultivators who were imprisoned stomped their feet in anger and cursed. The golden cicada was all smiles and ignored them. Fated with you? Damn Baldy, get lost. Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar sounded and demonic chi surged into the skies. A majestic demonic chi surged into the skies like a pillar that supported the heavens. The boundless aura blanketed the world. The wind howled and clouds surged as lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Amidst the rumbling of the world, a massive figure appeared in midair. It was a gigantic black bull. Bull Demon King. When they saw that figure, a series of horrified screams could be heard. The Bull Demon King of Thunderswarm Mountain was infamous for his ferocity and might. The appearance of such a peerless demon caused the cultivators near the two worlds past to turn pale and tremble. That idiot barbarian bull died in the hands of that thing? Hongyun's treasure? The fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd? Great! It's mine now! The demonic wind howled as the gigantic black bull transformed into a burly black man with two horns on his head. In a flash, he appeared before the golden cicada. Golden cicada? The Bull Demon King glared at the golden cicada with a pair of Red Bull eyes as he breathed heavily from his nostrils. I heard that you don't know how to hit others. You only know how to take a beating and claim that you're invincible? I'd like to see if you're truly invincible. A pillar-like metal rod appeared in his hand. He raised it high and smashed it down on the golden cicada. Umaba. The golden cicada shook his head helplessly. He put his palms together and chanted a Buddhist proclamation. The Buddhist light in the sky intertwined and turned into a golden lotus that protected the golden cicada. Bam! The Bull Demon King's hybrid iron staff smashed heavily on the golden lotus of Buddha's light that the golden cicada master had conjured. The golden cicada was sent flying by the Bull Demon King's rod like a ping-pong ball. However, the golden cicada was unscathed in the golden light. You really can take a beating. The Bull Demon King grinned and spat into his palm. He grabbed his metal rod and swung it high, smashing it down again. Bam! 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 The Bull Demon King swung his rod like a game of whack-a-mole. The ground shook and the mountains shook, and the golden cicada was sent flying everywhere. Unfortunately, he still couldn't hit him. Not bad. You've caused quite a commotion. It's time for I to make my appearance. In the two worlds pass, a figure in a green robe with green clouds swirling around him stepped out of the city. Chapter 1329. Can't I kill him? I don't believe it. The Bull Demon King roared and continued to hit him with his stick. He's just standing there. You can't beat him. Is the Bull Demon King undeserving of his reputation? Seeing the Bull Demon King's whack-a-mole situation, the surrounding cultivators were shocked and started to discuss. undeserving of my reputation. The Bull Demon King was a great demon with peerless divine abilities. How could he not hear the discussions of the cultivators? The Bull Demon King was not a good-tempered person. How could he hold himself back? He turned his head and looked at the group of cultivators. Then he opened his mouth and roared. Moo! The bull's roar shook the sky. The wind howled and the clouds surged. Sand and stones flew everywhere. An enormous and boundless power swept out like a heaven-shaking storm. Ah, help! This gust of wind swept up the group of cultivators who were still discussing spiritedly just a moment ago. Suddenly, they were swept up by this gust of wind. Crack! The Vajra protection spell that Golden Cicada had cast on these people exploded in an instant. Then, a storm swept by, and these cultivators were all reduced to ashes. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. The Bull Demon King's roar was terrifying. Oh my God! At this moment, everyone near the Two Realms Pass who saw this scene all sucked in a breath of cold air and trembled all over. The Bull Demon King was indeed terrifying. At this moment, the audience also knew that the monk who was unable to move even after being smashed by the terrifying Bull Demon King was definitely extremely terrifying. His strength was beyond imagination. It seems that monk is called the Golden Cicada? Who's the Golden Cicada? How could these low-level itinerant cultivators know the Golden Cicada? Such a high and mighty figure was not someone the low-level cultivators could come into contact with. The Golden Cicada is the eldest disciple of the Buddha. He's known as the Vajra Indestructible. Yes, he is thick-skinned and can't be beaten to death. Just as the cultivators of the Two Realm Pass were puzzled, a cultivator shrouded in azure clouds explained to everyone in a very considerate manner. So he's the disciple of the Buddha. No wonder. No wonder. Everyone was shocked and came to a realization. No wonder even the Bull Demon King couldn't beat him. He turned out to be a disciple of the Buddha, a direct disciple of the sage. Actually, Golden Cicada, shedding carapace, is just a thicker skin. I want to see if I really can't beat it. The cultivators surrounded by green clouds chuckled and stepped out, heading towards the place where the Bull Demon King and the Golden Cicada were whacking the mole. You. The cultivators of the Two Realms Pass were all dumbfounded when they saw the figure with green clouds circling around him. Why don't you try? You actually dare to go up there? Whether it's the Bull Demon King or the Golden Cicada, are they people you can afford to offend? Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the cultivators surrounded by green clouds slowly walked to the place where the Bull Demon King and the Golden Cicada Master were fighting. Excuse me. The cultivator, shrouded in green clouds, raised his hand to greet the Bull Demon King and the Golden Cicada. Old Bull, it's pointless for you to continue fighting like this. You can't even break through his defenses. Why don't you give him to me? Old Bull, give it to you? Who do you think you are? The Bull Demon King was a successful man who could afford a wife and a mistress. Naturally, he had the temper of a successful man. Calling me Old Bull. Do I know you that well? Who do you think you are? How dare you call me, Old Bull? Scram! With a roar, the Bull Demon King let go of the Golden Cicada Master and swung his hybrid iron cudgel viciously at the figure shrouded in green clouds whose face could not be seen clearly. Benefactor, watch out! The Golden Cicada Master was a Buddhist after all and was merciful at heart. Seeing the Bull Demon King attack, he hurriedly shouted a warning. How kind of you! The figure shrouded in green clouds chuckled and faced the Bull Demon King's hybrid iron cudgel head-on. He did not dodge at all and just stood in the clouds nonchalantly. How dare you be so careless? A cold light flashed in the Bull Demon King's eyes. Demonic chi surged all over his body, and this strike of his cudgel became even more violent and ferocious. Rumble! The strike of his cudgel seemed to even shatter the void. Amidst the violent roar, the huge iron rod shattered the clouds and scattered the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Like an ink pen drawing a line on a piece of paper, the rod left a pitch-black crack in the void where it smashed past. Sky-splitting hybrid iron cudgel. The Bull Demon King really lives up to his name. He's really too strong. Seeing the Bull Demon King strike, the cultivators near the Two Realms Pass were all amazed. As for the Green Cloud cultivator who was being attacked by the Bull Demon King, no one paid any attention to him. Who would care about this guy who was about to turn into ashes? However, when the Bull Demon King's shocking strike came crashing down, the Green Cloud cultivator who was doomed suddenly raised his arm and gently slapped out his palm against the cudgel. Boom! With a palm strike, the green clouds in the sky soared into the sky, and a huge palm appeared in midair. This was a huge palm formed by green clouds. It was originally formed by misty clouds, but it looked like a real palm. The knuckles and palm lines were clearly visible. Innate Chi capture. The huge green palm met the Bull Demon King's staff and grabbed at the Bull Demon King. Boom! With a violent roar, the Bull Demon King and his cudgel were suddenly caught by the palm. It was like catching a turtle in a jar, or lifting the stars to catch the moon. This huge green cloud palm exploded with infinite power and caught the Bull Demon King in the palm. The awe-inspiring and tyrannical Bull Demon King actually couldn't even block a single strike from this person. Where did this person come from? How strong was this person exactly? Everyone who saw this scene was already scared out of their wits. Bull Demon King, the soul-dispersing gourd fragment, is not something you can touch. Scram! The huge green cloud palm grabbed the Bull Demon King and threw him far away as if he was throwing a stone. Boom! Just like that, the Bull Demon King was tossed thousands of miles away like a stone. Now it's your turn. The figure surrounded by green clouds turned to look at the golden cicada, who was shrouded in golden light. Golden cicada, you didn't run? What a surprise. Ba. So this benefactor is the successor of Hongyun. When Golden Cicada saw the iconic innate chi catching technique, how could he not recognize this person's identity? The appearance of Hongyun's treasure had alarmed the successor of Hongyun. Benefactor, this humble monk is not good at fighting. Moreover, once this protective innate chi is activated, this humble monk will be isolated from the world and become a Buddhist nation. Others can't hit me, and I can't hit others. Golden Cicada put his palms together and shook his head with a smile. Patron, you are the successor of Red Cloud. The calabash fragment belongs to you. Unfortunately, I can isolate the world with my mystical ability. I can't hand over the calabash fragment and return it to you. Don't worry. If you can't return it, I'll take it myself. With a chuckle, the green clouds in the sky surged. A huge green palm grabbed the golden cicada, who was wrapped in the golden lotus. Ha! The green cloud palm kept exerting force, as if it wanted to crush the golden lotus wrapped around the golden cicada. However, although the golden lotus light screen made a cracking sound, it was still very sturdy. Benefactor, this humble monk's innate chi capture is not that easy to break. Benefactor, you don't have to, you're confident. With a chuckle, the figure shrouded in green clouds raised another arm. As the green clouds churned, another green palm appeared. If one hand can't do it, then two will do. The newly appeared green cloud palm clenched into a fist and punched the golden lotus light screen in the other palm. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out as a violent gale swept out. Crack! Under Jin Shanzi's horrified gaze, his protective divine ability, which was known as Unbreakable Vajra, suddenly exploded. Return it to its rightful owner. Return it to its rightful owner. The golden cicada's face paled, and he hurriedly threw out the gourd fragment. He defeated the Bull Demon King in one move and shattered the golden cicada's innate chi capture with one punch. Just how strong is this person? A day later, a piece of news shocked the world. The successor of Hongyun had appeared. He defeated the Bull Demon King in one move and the golden cicada in one punch. His innate chi capture was invincible. Chapter 1330. The descendant of Red Cloud had appeared. A single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Countless people in the Eldritch world who knew the inside story were all shocked by this news. Why were there so many people fighting over the soul-dispersing gourd fragment? It was not because of how precious the gourd fragment was, but because it might contain clues to the primordial violet vapor. Just this possibility alone had caused many people to fight to the death for it. Then, did the descendant of Red Cloud know the whereabouts of the primordial violet vapor? Could it be that the primordial violet vapor had already fallen into the hands of the descendant of Red Cloud? Compared to the gourd fragment, the descendant of Red Cloud was more valuable. Therefore, countless people in the Eldritch world who paid attention to the primordial violet vapor began to search for the descendant of Red Cloud. I did it on purpose. In a restaurant in the Two Realms Pass, Liu stood in front of the window with a wine bottle in his hand. He looked down at the dejected young Master Long who had fallen to the lowest point of his life, and a smile appeared on his face. At this moment, young Master Long was no longer in high spirits. His treasure was taken away, and his admirers had already abandoned him. The depressed young Master Long was beaten back to his original state of being a loser by the demon lord of Great Compassion's Great Compassion mantra. So, everything was just an illusion. Young Master Long's face was full of bitterness as he recalled his life of being a cuckold before he transmigrated. Will a loser forever be a loser? I can't accept this. After losing his treasure, his most loyal followers actually joined forces with the evil cultivators of the Two Realms Pass to rob him clean. With his cultivation destroyed, the high-spirited young master of the Jianghu was already in dire straits. Heaven is about to give me a great responsibility. Get lost, stinking beggar. Young Master Long was still in the midst of psychological reconstruction, trying to regain his confidence and rise from the lowest point of his life. However, a passerby kicked him to the ground, making young Master Long realize the reality. Why? Am I not the main character? Isn't this a test on my path forward? Why is it like this? Young Master Long clenched his fists tightly. The word stinky beggar was like a sharp blade that deeply pierced young Master Long's heart. It was really painful. It was painful. Isn't this young Master Long? A dragon among men, young Master Long. Ha! A young man in a brocade robe arrogantly glanced at the dispirited young Master Long and laughed loudly. Young Master Long? Bah, you're worse than shit. The young man in the brocade robe held his head high. He took out a piece of silver and threw it in front of young Master Long. Seeing as we're acquaintances, this young master isn't someone who doesn't cherish old friendships. Come, I'll give you a piece of silver and let you eat your fill. This can be considered as me doing good deeds. Flinging his sleeve in disdain, the young man laughed out loud and walked over with his head held high. Bastard! Young Master Long was so angry that his face turned red and his body trembled. This person was one of young Master Long's followers. They were the ones who colluded with outsiders and betrayed young Master Long, robbing him of all his treasures and severely injuring him, crippling his cultivation. Now, they were humiliating him in front of his face. This hatred was absolutely irreconcilable. 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. Don't bully the young for being poor. Young Master Long clenched his fists tightly and roared towards the sky, shouting out a classic saying that shook the heavens. Then, he was met with a burst of laughter. Ha ha! A beggar dares to talk nonsense? Why bother with him? Who knows? We might see his corpse in the smelly gutter tomorrow. The disdain of the passers-by made young Master Long feel as if a knife was stabbing his heart. It was so painful that he couldn't show his face. A high-spirited young hero of the pugilistic world, a young cultivator with a bright future, had fallen to such a state. Why? Young Master Long's eyes were red. His chest heaved up and down as he panted. Why? Because I chose you. Liu smiled and shook his head. All right, since you shouted don't bully the young for being poor, I will give you a chance. Young Master Long's so-called transmigration was made up by Liu. In order to make the successor of Red Cloud appear, he used young Master Long as a bait. Therefore, young Master Long's current situation was really made up by Li Yu. The main character Long Out Yin, with great luck, every time he suffers a setback, it is a chance for him to rise again. Things like falling off a cliff and finding a treasure after a great defeat, these are all very classic plots. Li Yu picked up the wine bottle and drank in one gulp. He already had an idea in his mind. Successor of Red Cloud or something, of course I have to release some smoke bombs. Therefore, this young Master Long was used as a bait by Li Yu again. He planned to make him the successor of Red Cloud again. Night fell. The two-world pass at night became even more dangerous. In the darkness, all kinds of evil appeared. I can't be depressed like this. I must rise again. I will definitely rise again. Young Master Dragon dragged his heavily injured body and staggered into an alley while supporting himself against the wall. This was the place young Master Long chose to stay. During the day, young Master Long found a dilapidated house in this alley. Although the door was collapsed and weeds were growing, it was still better than sleeping on the streets. Moving his body step by step, young Master Long endured the pain all over his body and walked into the dilapidated house with difficulty. Walking into the dilapidated house, young Master Long realized that this dilapidated house seemed to be a temple. In a house filled with weeds and piles of broken tiles, there was actually a broken half of a god statue. Only the two legs of the god statue were intact. The upper half had completely turned into rubble. There was no way to tell where it came from. Young Master Long was not in the mood to find out where it came from. Leaning against the stone platform of the god statue, he slowly sat down. Young Master Long panted heavily. The pain from his injuries almost made him collapse on the ground. I have seen through it. Reputation, prestige, limitless glory, they are all fake. Power. Only power is the most important. Determination appeared on young Master Long's face. The arrogance of the past, the arrogance of the past, the arrogance of the past had faded from his heart, only leaving behind a deep and determined, and the desire for power. Big brother, that stinky beggar is here. At this time, a few black shadows suddenly appeared outside the dilapidated house. The evil in the darkness had already appeared. Big brother, it is said that this guy was once a cultivator with quite a reputation. Can we deal with him? One of the black shadows seemed to be nervous, very afraid of the power of cultivators. What are you afraid of? His cultivation had been crippled by someone. Lord Onyx Soul needs some decent corpses to refine corpse soldiers. This former cultivator will definitely be able to sell for a good price. Saying that, a few black shadows went into the dilapidated house, pulled out their swords, and aimed at young Master Long, who was collapsed beside the god statue. Thieves? I never thought that I, young Master Long, would actually die in the hands of a few lowly thieves. When young Master Long saw these thieves, his heart was filled with bitterness and a strong sense of unwillingness. Chapter 1331. Thief, you're just a stinking beggar. How dare you call us thieves? The leading burly man raised his sharp knife with a ferocious expression. Even if you were once a cultivator, so what? A featherless phoenix is worse than a chicken. Lifting his leg, the leading burly man ruthlessly kicked young Master Long's chest. Buffed, heavily injured and receiving such a kick, young Master Long spat out a mouthful of blood, seeing stars and barely breathing. However, that pair of eyes were still bright, still carrying pride and unyielding. You still dare to glare at me? I'll dig your eyes out. The burly man grabbed the knife and stabbed over. Big brother, don't break it. If you break the corpse, it's worthless. A man at the side reached out and pulled this big brother. Big brother, Lord Onyx Soul wants a complete corpse to refine corpse soldiers. If you blind it, what if you can't sell it? Corpse soldiers also need eyes? The burly man was stunned. He couldn't understand. Corpse soldiers were clearly corpses. What do they need eyes for? Could they still see? Cultivators' things are so *king weird. Forget it. I won't dig his eyes out. Let's kill him first. The burly man spat, grabbed the sharp knife, and walked in front of young Master Long. Hee, this is my first time killing a cultivator, although it's a crippled cultivator. Raising the sharp knife, the burly man stabbed down. Puffed, it stabbed into young Master Long's thigh. Ugh! Young Master Long groaned in pain, gritting his teeth as he stared at the burly man, his eyes bursting with endless hatred. Big brother, why didn't you stab him? Seeing the burly man stabbing young Master Long's thigh, a subordinate at the side cried out in shock. This is my first time killing a cultivator. Of course I have to kill a few more. Of course I have to kill slowly. What's the point of killing once for fun? The burly man grinned, turning his head to look at the other accomplices. Come, everyone, let's have some fun. It's rare to have such an opportunity. Everyone come and kill. When you brag to others, you can even say that you've killed a cultivator. Ha! Big brother's words make sense. The accomplices laughed loudly, pulling out their sharp knives one by one, walking up with sinister smiles. Damn it, this young master actually has to suffer such humiliation even at death's door. Young Master Long's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He was filled with grief and indignation. Even if I die, I won't die in the hands of you thieves. With a furious roar, young Master Dragon used all of his strength to raise his head, aiming at the stone platform behind him, and violently rammed into it. Boom! Summoning the last of his strength, young Master Dragon slammed his head against the broken statue with all his might. Blood splattered everywhere. Blood gushed out and soaked the remaining half of the statue. I hate it. His vision became more and more blurry. On his deathbed, young Master Dragon let out a final roar of unwillingness. Buzz! Suddenly, a red light burst out from the blood-soaked statue. With a flash of light, it was like a long dragon made of red smoke. It howled and wriggled as it rushed into young Master Dragon's body. Boom! A vast and boundless energy surged into young Master Dragon's body like a raging tide. In just an instant, the injuries on young Master Long's body were healed. This vast and boundless energy also completely merged into young Master Dragon's body. The red smoke was like a coiling dragon, coiling around young Master Dragon's dantian. The vast energy filled his body, and young Master Dragon's body glowed as he floated into the air. This corpse transformation. Run. The few thieves were scared out of their wits. With a strange cry, they turned and ran. Oof. Young Master Dragon's face was filled with rage, and his eyes were cold. You thieves! How dare you humiliate this young master? Go to hell. With a wave of his hand, a red cloud like a swimming dragon wriggled out from his palm. With just a twirl, the few thieves instantly turned into ashes. Huff! After letting out a long breath, young Master Dragon landed on the ground, turned his head to look at the completely broken half of the statue, and bowed respectfully. With Senior's grace, this junior was able to escape death and make a comeback. I can't thank you enough for your grace. Yes, young Master Dragon had another fortuitous encounter and obtained a peerless inheritance. Kowtow 3 times, receive my true inheritance. At this time, endless red clouds suddenly burst out in young Master Dragon's mind, and a mighty voice, like a great bell, rang out in his mind. This is a fortuitous encounter? Young Master Dragon thought that this fortuitous encounter only allowed him to escape death and recover from his injuries. He didn't expect there to be a true inheritance. Ha! As expected. I am indeed the main character. Every failure, every downfall, is a chance for me to rise again. A sense of ecstasy rose in his heart. However, after suffering once, young Master Dragon was no longer that arrogant, flamboyant, and self-confident. Disciple Long A.O. greets Master. Facing the completely broken statue, young Master Dragon respectfully kowtowed. After 3 kowtows, there was an explosion in young Master Dragon's mind. The sky was filled with red clouds, and a magnificent figure wearing a red robe, with a red gourd hanging on his waist, and a head full of red hair, appeared in young Master Dragon's mind. My name is Red Cloud, and I am the first cloud in the world after the creation of heaven and earth. Because I obtained the Hong Meng immortal vapor, I was framed and died under the joint attack of East Emperor Tai, Emperor Jun, Mingi, and Kuan Peng. I saw through the secrets of heaven and knew that death was inevitable. I predicted that after billions of years, a fated person would come and leave a legacy here. A strand of my true spirit has not perished. After reincarnation, it will return to heaven and earth. The person who obtains my legacy must protect my reincarnated body and enter Tao again. Are you willing? Hearing the voice in his mind and seeing the red-robed figure, young Master Long's body trembled and his heart was filled with shock. So, it is Red Cloud? As a time traveler, how could young Master Dragon not have heard of Red Cloud's unfortunate and tragic story? No wonder I obtained the fragments of the 99 soul-dispersing gourd. No wonder I am in such dire straits. No wonder I came to this broken house. So, I am fated with Red Cloud. So, I am the fated person of Red Cloud. After figuring out the ins and outs, young Master Dragon was overjoyed. I have received Master's legacy. So, I will protect Master's reincarnated body and enter Tao again. Young Master Dragon would not miss the opportunity. He quickly accepted the task of protecting Red Cloud's reincarnated body and enter Tao. Then, I will teach you everything I know. The red-robed figure in his mind smiled and nodded. Boom! The crimson-robed figure exploded and turned into clouds that filled the sky before rushing into young Noble Dragon's body. Boom! A vast and boundless force rushed into young Master Dragon's body like a river bursting through a dam. Red vital chi ran through his body, and young Master Dragon's cultivation level increased rapidly. In a short while, from transforming essence into chi, he broke through transforming essence into spirit and reached refining spirit into void. When the force was fully integrated into his body, young Master Dragon was shocked to find that he had reached the peak of primordial unity, true immortal, and was only one step away from becoming a golden immortal. Ha ha! I have risen again. Young Master Dragon laughed loudly, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Those who have humiliated me and betrayed me, your time of death has come. Chapter 1332. The next morning, the door of the Union Pavilion in the Two-World Pass opened slowly. The Union Pavilion was the most famous brothel in the Two-World Pass. It was said that it was the base of the Yin-Yang sect. To the guests who came to the Union Pavilion, the Yin-Yang sect was not important at all. The beautiful women and the endless ecstasy techniques were the most important. Ugh, how refreshing. A young man in a brocade robe yawned and stretched. He walked out of the pavilion and out of the Union Pavilion. Mistress Cloud really lives up to her name, supporting a dragon with a pole and touching a flute with her red lips. Her technique is simply amazing. The taste is indescribable. The young man in brocade robe whistled as he reminisced. He walked out of the Union Pavilion leisurely. Just as he walked out of the Union Pavilion, the young man in brocade robe stopped. He suddenly saw a beggar in rags standing in front of him, blocking his way. Bastard! Ugh! Isn't this young Master Long? The young man in brocade robe was about to scold him when he suddenly realized that the beggar was young Master Long. This made him laugh. What's wrong? Did you spend all the silver I rewarded you yesterday? Are you here to ask me for money again? The young man in brocade robe glanced at young Master Long arrogantly. He took out a silver ingot from his sleeve and waved it in his hand. Come, bark like a dog. I'll reward you with this silver ingot. The young man in brocade robe felt very pleased to be able to trample on the person he once worshipped and followed. It was even more satisfying than Mistress Cloud. Traitor, it's time for you to die. Young Master Long's eyes were cold. He stared coldly at the young man in brocade robe and slowly raised his arm. What did you say? Time for me to die? Ha ha! The young man in brocade robe laughed maniacally. He pointed a finger at young Master Long and shook his head. Do you know? If it weren't for the fact that I'd be very happy to see you in such a sorry state, I would have killed you long ago. Do you think you're still the young Master Long of the past? Right now, I can crush you to death with a single finger. One finger? Fine, I'll only use one finger. Young Master Long's face was as cold as ice. He raised a finger and pointed it at the man in the brocade robe. Boom! With an explosive sound, the white clouds in the sky surged and turned into a huge white finger out of thin air. The finger was like a pillar that could hold up the sky. The finger was condensed from white clouds. The boundless power shook the heavens and earth, and the vast divine might was unstoppable. Ah! When he saw this, the young man in embroidered robes was so scared that his face turned ghastly pale and his entire body trembled. Wasn't young Master Long crippled? Wasn't he crippled of his cultivation and severely injured? Wasn't he worse than a mortal? Why, young master, have mercy. Spare me. I was also forced into a corner. They forced me to do this. I can't do anything about it. The young man in embroidered robes was frightened to the point he screamed and begged for mercy. Did they force you? A smile appeared on Mr. Dragon's cold face. Don't worry, none of them will be able to escape. A cold light flashed in young Master Long's eyes as he pressed his finger down. Boom! With a loud sound, the huge finger pressed down heavily. It was as if a pillar that could hold up the sky fell from the sky and smashed into the ground, causing a loud sound. With a press of the finger, the young man in embroidered robes was crushed into ashes. I'm back. None of you can escape. Retracting his finger, the white clouds dissipated. Young Master Long's body was surrounded by smoke as he stepped on the clouds. The white clouds were faint, and he looked like an immortal. If it wasn't for his tattered clothes, young Master Long's demeanor would be like that of an immortal. Not bad. At least you're not stupid. You knew to use the white cloud chi instead of the red cloud chi. When Liu saw this, he smiled and nodded. Although you've changed your appearance, sooner or later, people will suspect you. Long out, Yen. I hope you don't die too quickly. By creating a new descendant of the red cloud, Liu is also stirring up trouble, making the identity of the descendant of the red cloud even more confusing. When fighting with saints, no matter how careful you were, you could never be too careful. With a few more chess pieces, there would be more room to maneuver. Liu could also set up a plan calmly. As for whether young Master Long would die miserably, Liu thought that since he had obtained the inheritance of the red cloud, he had to bear the karma of the red cloud. Wasn't this normal? Long Outyen's appearance will definitely attract some people's attention. Liu walked to the window and looked in the direction of the fifth manor of the Longevity Mountain. Zenyuanzi, the descendant of the red cloud, has appeared here. You can't sit still, can you? Regardless of whether Zenyuanzi was here to avenge the red cloud, as he said, he had to come here to check. Back then, you inexplicably sent the news of the primordial violet vapor to me. I don't know what your purpose is, but this won't stop me from tricking you. A gourd fragment appeared in Liu's hand. It was the fragment that he had snatched from Golden Cicada, which was also the one in Long Outyen's hand. As Liu, I also need to walk on the stage and stand out. The status of fake identity was too low. It was inconvenient for him to get involved in many things, and he couldn't intervene openly. Only by having a public identity and a secret arrangement could he ensure that everything was foolproof. Therefore, Zenyuanzi was a very good target. Liu would rather die than become a disciple of a saint. Once he became a disciple of a saint, he would appear in front of the saint every day and be entangled with the karma of the master. With the realm of the saints, they would definitely notice that Liu was abnormal. In the untainted world, other than the saints, the strongest were Mingi, Zenyuanzi, Kuanpeng, Haotian, and the other sage-to-be. It would be easy for Liu to trick these sage-to-be. Zenyuanzi should know Hongyun the best. I should be able to find a breakthrough from him. Zenyuanzi was Hongyun's brother. Liu needed to find the primordial immortal chi and get some clues from Zenyuanzi. Sure enough, it was as expected. After a day, the news that the successor of Hongyun had appeared in the Two Worlds Pass had reached Zenyuanzi's ears. Zenyuanzi had come. Boom! Blue light burst out from the horizon. The shadow of the ginseng fruit tree covered the sky and the sun. A sage-like man in a Taoist robe with long sleeves fluttering in the wind floated over. I am Xinyuanzi. Hong Yun is my brother. The successor of Hong Yun is my successor. I won't let go of anyone who dares to touch the successor of Hong Yun. The mighty voice spread all over the field and shook the 9 heavens. Xinyuanzi made this matter public so openly and even said that he supported the successor of Hong Yun. Interesting. Liu chuckled. Xinyuanzi's words might be a deterrent to the rogue cultivators. Who else in the Saints sect would listen to him? I'm afraid that his words will only make the successor of Hong Yun have a good impression of him. After all, the successor of Hong Yun had no relatives. Now that he suddenly had such a strong elder protecting him, he should have a good impression of him and might even seek refuge with him. I hope Mr. Dragon is not so stupid as to send himself to him. Liu didn't believe that the Brotherhood was more important than the primordial immortal Qi. However, it was none of Liu's business. Since Xinyuanzi had come, then the next step of the plan could be carried out. Chapter 1333. Xinyuanzi's arrival silenced the 2 worlds pass. Sage to be was the most powerful existence in the Eldritch world. Xinyuanzi's power was not something the cultivators of the 2 worlds pass could resist. All the cultivators near the 2 realms pass lowered their heads under the overwhelming pressure. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. I want to know what happened in the 2 worlds pass these days. Xinyuanzi floated down and landed above the 2 worlds pass. He waved his hand, and a cloud condensed into a cloud platform. Xinyuanzi sat cross-legged on the cloud platform, glanced at the 2 worlds pass, and slowly closed his eyes. Greetings, Grand Immortal Xinyuanzi. In a moment, several figures rose into the air, flew to the edge of the cloud platform, and bowed to Xinyuanzi. These people were the most powerful figures in the vicinity of the 2 realms pass. There were both human cultivators and demon cultivators. Rise! Xinyuanzi waved his hand and said flatly, "Tell me what happened in the past few days." Yes, Xinyuanzi's power was not something these small figures could resist. Moreover, this was not a secret, and there was no need to take the risk to hide it. Grand Immortal Xinyuanzi, 2 days ago, a foreign cultivator used a treasure that could destroy souls in a fight and was recognized as the soul-dispersing gourd fragment. Then a fight broke out. Demon Lord Dabii of the demonic sect, Golden Cicada of the Buddhist sect, and Bull Demon King all fought for the gourd fragment. Then, the successor of Red Cloud appeared and defeated Bull Demon King and Golden Cicada with the Khanate Chi-catching technique, and took the gourd fragment. Several important figures of the 2 realms pass hurriedly told Xinyuanzi what had happened from beginning to end. The gourd fragment and the successor of Red Cloud appeared, and Golden Cicada, Demon Lord Dabii, and Bull Demon King. Xinyuanzi nodded and waved at them. I know, you may leave. Yes. They bowed and left as if they had been pardoned. Only Golden Cicada of the Saints sect came. I'm afraid he just happened to be here. Fragments of the soul-dispersing gourd had appeared many times recently. Apart from the fragment that Mingi had snatched away the first time, many more appeared one after another. Everyone got something. Even Xinyuanzi himself got a gourd fragment. However, the fragments of the gourd had disappeared for countless years. Now, they had reappeared in such a large number, and there was even a descendant of the Red Cloud. This was too much of coincidence. Did the successor of my brother Hong Yun do this on purpose? Or is it because of fate that the primordial violet Qi is about to be born? Zhen Yuanzi pondered for a while, and then smiled while stroking his beard. Brother Hong Yun, I don't believe that you died that year. With your abilities and the primordial violet Qi in your hands, even if you can't escape death, you should be able to leave yourself a chance of survival and reincarnate. So, whether it's the gourd shards or the descendant of the Red Cloud, they're all tricks to cover up your reincarnation, right? Since Brother Hong Yun has returned from the heavenly tribulation, I will naturally protect you. Zhen Yuanzi nodded with a smile. So, let's find my martial nephew first. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and waved it. A dense power of the earth surged out. A thick and heavy book slowly unfurled in the bright yellow light. This was the Book of Earth. The Book of Earth formed by the embryonic membrane of heaven and earth was also the foundation of the untainted land and the authority to control the power of the earth. This was the origin of Zhen Yuanzi's title of Ancestor of Earthly Immortals. Just like how Mingyi controlled the Blood Sea, Zhen Yuanzi controlled the Book of Earth. They were part of the untainted land and represented the vast land. This was also the reason why Zhen Yuanzi could survive until now when the sages controlled the untainted land. After all, if Zhen Yuanzi was forced into a corner, he could imitate Mingyi and explode the Book of Earth to destroy the untainted land. Under the cover of the Book of Earth, even the sages can't see what's happening here. Zhen Yuanzi smiled and took out a fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd from his sleeve. He raised his finger, and a cloud of light rose from his fingertip. He pointed at the fragment of the gourd. I've learned Brother Hongyun's Kanate Chi genuine method. Since we share the same origin, I'll be able to find you and bring you back soon. The cloud of light fell on the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. With a buzzing sound, the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd in Zhen Yuanzi's hand immediately resonated with the power of the same origin. He's here indeed. Following the connection, Zhen Yuanzi found a power that resonated with the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd in his hand. This must be the descendant of Hongyun. Just as he was about to take the descendant of Hongyun over, Yuanzi suddenly sensed something from the fragment of the gourd in his hand. Tutu. Zhen Yuanzi was stunned. Could it be that Brother Hongyun's descendant and his reincarnation are both here? Zhen Yuanzi's heart skipped a beat. He waved his hand quickly. Boom! In the vast yellow light of the Earth Book, a ginseng fruit tree rose into the sky. Green light covered the sky, and another layer of green light was added on top of the yellow light. If it's really the reincarnation of Brother Hongyun, I was a little reckless just now. Fortunately, only I know about the secret skill of sharing the same origin. Otherwise, the reincarnation of Brother Hongyun would be exposed to the sages. No matter from the perspective of brotherly love or the primordial immortal Qi, if it was really the reincarnation of Hongyun, he could not be exposed. I've had a great harvest this time. Not only did I find the descendant of Hongyun, but I also found a person who is suspected to be the reincarnation of Hongyun. Zhen Yuanzi was overjoyed. He stretched out his hand, and yellow light swept out. Near the gate of the two realms, two targets were wrapped up in the Earth Book, and all traces were covered. But the noise I made just now will definitely be seen by someone. I have to leave quickly and return to Wu Zhuang Taoist Temple. If he did not return to his base, he would be blocked on the way. The two people who were suspected to be the descendant of Hongyun and the reincarnation would not be safe. Boom! The sky was full of light. Zhen Yuanzi jumped up, turned around, and ran away. Taoist friend Zhen Yuanzi, you caught my people, and you want to leave without saying goodbye? Just when Zhen Yuanzi rushed out of the gate of the two realms, a blood light flashed in front of him. An old man in a red robe with a sinister face blocked his way with a sneer. Mingyi? Damn it! Zhen Yuanzi was shocked. So fast. Mingyi is in seclusion in the Blood Sea. How did he get the news and come here so quickly? Mingyi, you despicable man. Go to hell. At this time, Zhen Yuanzi did not hesitate at all. He directly attacked without hesitation. If he did not defeat Mingyi, perhaps more people would attack him. The situation was very critical. Of course, he had to make a prompt decision without any hesitation. Chapter 1334. Bastard. Angered by Zhen Yuanzi's attack, Mingyi hurriedly unleashed the Yuan Tu and Avici swords to block the attack. Boom! Vast azure light shook the world as it crashed down on the Nether River Patriarch. Heaven and earth crumbled under that one blow. Mingyi hadn't fully recovered from his self-detonation of the blood god's sun not long ago, and his power had dropped significantly. Even after unleashing the Yuan Tu and Avicii swords to block the attack, he was still sent flying hundreds of miles away. Preposterous! Mingi was shaking with rage. The Yuan Tu and Avicii swords turned into two dark red dragons that roared into the air, bursting with a monstrous aura. Xinyuanzi, you've captured one of my men and are still being so unreasonable. Do you think I'm a pushover? When it came to ruthlessness and courage, the Nether River Patriarch had never been afraid of anyone. With a murderous glint in his eyes, the Nether River Patriarch went berserk. Boom, boom, boom. Like two raging dragons, the Yuan Tu and Avicii swords whistled through the air and blasted at Xinyuanzi without stopping. Damn it, Xinyuanzi naturally wasn't afraid of Mingi. Even if Mingi was at his peak, he wouldn't be afraid. The problem was that his Earth book still contained the air of Hongyun and the suspected reincarnation of Hongyun. If this continued, Xinyuanzi would be fine, but the air of Hongyun and the reincarnation of Hongyun would probably be shaken to death. Universe in the sleeve. With a wave of his sleeve, Xinyuanzi used the world-renowned universe in the sleeve technique. A giant black hole appeared in his sleeve, and a boundless suction force seemed to engulf the world and sweep across the world. As the black hole swept across, Xinyuanzi abruptly sucked the Yuan Tu and Avicii swords into the universe in the sleeve. Xinyuanzi, seeing the scene, Mingi was dumbfounded. He wasn't worried about his Yuan Tu and Avicii swords. He wasn't worried at all. While Xinyuanzi's universe in the sleeve was powerful, it was naturally a peerless killing weapon against those weaker than him that couldn't be stopped at all. However, Mingi, who was on par with Xinyuanzi, could not be suppressed by universe in the sleeve. Ginseng fruit, reverse spiritual energy, erupt. 7 or 8 ginseng fruits rushed out of the huge ginseng tree. Green light erupted violently as the ginseng fruits turned into E-wood heavenly thunderbolts, blasting viciously at the Nether River Patriarch. Boom, boom, boom. Green light flashed and thunder rumbled. At this moment, Mingi was stunned by Xinyuanzi. Isn't self-destruction my specialty? When did Xinyuanzi learn this skill? There are only so many ginseng fruits in total. You used 7 or 8 of them as E-wood divine thunder. You are really generous. Furthermore, Xinyuanzi, are you out of your mind? Mingi vomited blood from the explosion. He roared furiously and waved his hands. The Yuan Tu sword and Abi sword burst out violently, slashing open Zhun Yuanzi's universe in the sleeve. Zhun Yuanzi's qi and blood were surging, and blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Are you out of your mind? Mingi raised the Yuan Tu sword and glared at Xinyuanzi. Great Mercy is my disciple. Why did you capture him? Even if you did, do you have to fight so hard? Huh? Great Mercy? Xinyuanzi shuddered. Great Mercy? I captured the Great Mercy Demon Lord. I captured your disciple. What the F***CK did you do? Don't you know? Did Donkey kick you in the head? Mingi roared in anger. Did I capture the wrong person? How is this possible? This is impossible. Xinyuanzi was shocked. He could not believe this at all. However, seeing Mingi like this, Xinyuanzi could not help but glance at the Earth Book. Is it really the Great Mercy Demon Lord? And the other one is Golden Cicada? He saw 2 figures in the Earth Book. One was the Great Mercy Demon Lord holding a jade flute, and the other was a bald monk shining with golden light. It was obviously Golden Cicada. What was going on? At this moment, Xinyuanzi was confused. He had used Brother Hongyun's secret technique to sense the power of the same origin with the gourd shard. He had found traces of the true skill of Khanate Chi on these 2 people. He was the only one in the world who knew this secret technique. The secret technique would not be wrong. But why was it the Great Mercy Demon Lord and Golden Cicada? One was Mingi's disciple, and the other was Tathagata's disciple. These 2 people could not be related to Hongyun. Xinyuanzi, I know you have always wanted to monopolize Hongyun's relics. However, do you think that by capturing my disciple, you can threaten me? Do you think you can make me give you the soul-dispersing gourd shard? You're delusional. Mingi grabbed the Yuan Tu sword and stared at Xinyuanzi coldly. His eyes shone with a cold light. Huh? Mingi thinks I kidnapped the great mercy demon lord to threaten him? Yes, he does not know Brother Hongyun's secret technique. He does not know that I am looking for Hongyun's successor. So, Xinyuanzi turned his head to look at Demon Monarch, Great Compassion, and Golden Cicada in the Earth Book. He took a deep breath and said, "My secret method can't be wrong. There is only one possibility for this to happen. They are Hongyun's descendant and Hongyun's reincarnation. Xinyuanzi, are you going to let them go or not?" Mingi pointed his sword at Xinyuanzi. For the Nether River Patriarch, it was not like he couldn't abandon his disciple if he couldn't defeat the enemy with brute force. But Xinyuanzi was not in the category of cannot defeat. If he allowed Xinyuanzi to take away his disciple, how could Mingi survive in the Eldritch world? Where'd he put his face? Taoist Mingi, your disciple is destined to be with me. I have invited him to my residence as a guest. Why are you making a fuss? Since Xinyuanzi suspected that the Great Mercy Demon Lord and Golden Cicada were related to Hongyun, there was no way he would let them go. He could only brace himself against Mingi's pressure. Destined to be with you? Good, good, good. Patriarch Mingi was so angry that he laughed. He waved his hands and released the Yuan-Tu and Avicii swords. You're learning from me? Then there's nothing to say. Murderous dark red sword Chi's sword into the sky. Mingi swung the two swords of slaughter and chopped down at Xinyuanzi's head. Bang, bang, bang. The two sages-to-be experts fought with real fire. They fought until the sky darkened and the earth shook. Master, help. Umitba, I am Golden Cicada. Seniors, why are you fighting? Why don't we just call it quits? While Mingi and Xinyuanzi were fighting fiercely, the Great Mercy Demon Lord and Golden Cicada in the Earth Book sensed what was going on outside. Both of them spoke. One of them called for help, while the other mediated. Xinyuanzi, you've captured Tathagata's disciple? Ha ha ha. Just based on your courage, this old man admires you. Patriarch Mingi was stunned at Golden Cicada's words. Then he laughed out loud. You dare to capture a saint's disciple? Xinyuanzi, you're really confident. Chapter 1335. You dare to capture Tathagata's disciple? Let's see how you're going to deal with this. The Nether River Patriarch jumped out of the circle and put away his longsword. To Mingi, Xinyuanzi had clearly lost his mind. Demi-saints were very powerful and could dominate a region. But that also depended on who they were compared to. Demi-saints were naturally the most powerful beneath saints. But no matter how powerful a demi-saint was, they would not dare to provoke a saint. Xinyuanzi must have gone mad to capture Tathagata's disciple. The Nether River Patriarch had no confidence in fighting a lunatic. Wait. The Nether River Patriarch suddenly remembered the rumor of Hongyun's successor at the Two Worlds Pass. Could it be? Golden Cicada is Hongyun's successor? The Nether River Patriarch came to a realization. No wonder Xinyuanzi was so crazy. No wonder he dared to capture a saint's disciple. So that was what was going on. Tathagata was also scheming. He had taken Hongyun's successor as his disciple because he wanted the primordial violet vapor. The primordial violet vapor was the foundation of becoming a saint. Saints did not need it. But if he had another saint under his wing, he would have the upper hand. One had to know that saints had disputes too. The primeval world was not big, but it was not small either. The 8 saints were equally powerful and restrained each other. If one sect had 2 saints, they would have the upper hand. At that moment, the Nether River Patriarch's imagination completed and figured out the truth. But why did Xinyuanzi capture Great Sorrow? What was he up to? Great Sorrow was Mingi's disciple, and Mingi knew him like the back of his hand. Naturally, he did not think that Great Sorrow had anything to do with Hongyun's successor. No matter what you're up to, I won't interfere. You've already provoked Tathagata. Let's see how you're going to deal with this. Mingi sneered and retreated. He did not plan to attack. Humph. Xinyuanzi breathed a sigh of relief, when Mingi stopped attacking. He snorted and turned to leave. Capturing Great Compassion Fiend Lord was nothing, but capturing Golden Cicada still put a lot of pressure on Zenyuanzi. He did not know that he had captured Golden Cicada, but now that he knew that Golden Cicada was Tathagata's disciple, Zenyuanzi was naturally nervous. Zenyuanzi thought of the same thing as Mingi. He knew that there was no way he could detain Golden Cicada. Once Tathagata made his move, there was no way he could keep Golden Cicada. Tathagata, you actually schemed so deeply? How can I let you do as you wish? In Zenyuanzi's opinion, Golden Cicada was definitely not the successor of Hongyun. After all, how could Hongyun's inheritance compare to the true inheritance of Saint? Golden Cicada would never choose Hongyun's cultivation method. Since the Golden Cicada Master could sense the secret technique, he could only be the reincarnation of Hongyun. If I can't keep the Golden Cicada Master, I'll have to hand him over, but I have to let the Golden Cicada Master know my true identity. Thinking of this, Zenyuanzi gritted his teeth and pressed a finger on the earth book. A stream of rosy clouds, genuine chi whizzed out and rushed into Golden Cicada's mind. Golden Cicada, you are the reincarnation of my brother, Hongyun. You must remember your origins. Tathagata definitely did not have good intentions when he accepted you as his disciple. You must be careful. Think of a way to find an opportunity to defect. Zenyuanzi cast a spell and released a stream of innate red cloud, genuine chi, trying to awaken Golden Cicada's red cloud, genuine spirit. Then Amitabha, after casting the spell, Zenyuanzi felt as if a gate had been opened. Boundless Buddhist light poured out like a river. Ah, my cicada shedding and nirvana samsara technique has been broken. Master, save me. Golden Cicada Master felt as if his mind had exploded. The Buddhist light that filled the sky surged like a river bursting its banks. Feeling as if he was about to explode, he hurriedly cried for help. Cicada shedding and nirvana samsara. After 10 lives of reincarnation, the Golden Cicada Master would be able to break through and become a Buddha. But now, Zenyuanzi had broken through his 10th life when he'd just ascended to the Golden Immortal Realm. The Buddhist cultivation that he'd accumulated in his previous 9 lives exploded in an instant. The Golden Cicada Master would soon explode from his own cultivation. Merciful Buddha, a Buddhist chant burst out in the void, and the mighty Buddhist light covered the sky and earth. Amidst the brilliant Buddhist light, a Buddhist palm that seemed to be made of gold descended from the sky, blocking out the sun. Ha ha! Tathagata has made his move. Ha ha! You're courting death, Zenyuanzi. The Nether River Patriarch was rolling around in laughter at the sight, unable to catch his breath. You're vicious, Tathagata. From Zenyuanzi's point of view, this was Tathagata's revenge on him for awakening the true spirit of Hongyun's reincarnation. Boom! Gritting his teeth, Zenyuanzi unleashed all his strength to block the Buddhist palm descending from the sky. Even so, the Golden Cicada Master was about to explode from the burst of Buddhist power. Tathagata didn't have the time to tangle with Zenyuanzi, nor did he have the time to explain. Moreover, why would saints need to explain their actions? There was a loud rumble as vast and boundless power violently erupted. The dazzling golden Buddhist palm destroyed Zenyuanzi's attack with a single strike, breaking through the void and reaching into the earth scroll to grab the Golden Cicada Master. Buddhist light flashed, suppressing the Golden Cicada Master's raging cultivation. What a pity! My last reincarnation is broken just like that. Having escaped death, the Golden Cicada Master felt the cultivation in his body. Face full of sorrow, he put his palms together and sighed wordlessly. Tathagata, seeing that Hongyun's reincarnation had fallen into Tathagata's demonic hands again, Zenyuanzi's heart was filled with hatred. It was a pity that Tathagata had annihilated Yi Futian's attack with a single blow. Even if Tathagata was merciful and didn't kill, Zenyuanzi was still severely injured and vomited blood after being hit by the aftershock. Buddha is merciful. With a Buddhist chant, the dazzling golden Buddhist palm grabbed the golden cicada master and tore through the air, disappearing instantly. Ha ha! Zenyuanzi, it's time to settle our score. The Nether River Patriarch was very relaxed after beating a drowning dog. He swung his two swords and slashed at the heavily injured Zenyuanzi. How dare you take advantage of my weakness, Nether River? Zenyuanzi was so angry that he vomited blood, but could only block with all his might. Another great battle ensued. The heavily injured Zenyuanzi was having a hard time holding on. I'll return your disciple to you. Zenyuanzi wasn't an indecisive person. He knew that he couldn't continue fighting in his current state, so he might as well leave the Demon Lord Great Compassion and ensure his own safety first. However, Nether River wasn't an easy person to deal with. If Zenyuanzi wanted to escape, he would have to shed a layer of skin. A day later, with a boom, on a cliff 10,000 li to the north of the Two Realms Pass, a figure fell from the sky and heavily smashed into the cliff, directly collapsing it. What the hell? What's going on? A streak of sword light shot out, as straight and unyielding as a pine tree. The sword light blasted away the rubble, and a young man in green rose on his sword. Huh? You. The young man in green looked at a man in Taoist robes who had fallen to the ground, and then turned to look at the collapsed cliff. My cave abode was destroyed by you? Cough, cough. Sorry. Zenyuanzi was covered in dust. He coughed and looked at the young man in green apologetically. I was being chased by a great enemy and fell here while escaping. I'm sorry to have disturbed your cultivation. Oh, I see. It's fine, it's fine. The young man in green was very simple and kind. He forgave Zenyuanzi immediately and asked with concern, Is your injury serious? I have healing elixirs here. I spent a lot of money to exchange for them. As he spoke, the young man in green took out a jade bottle and handed it to Zenyuanzi. This is the Eternal Creation Elixir, a very good healing elixir. Take it. Eternal Creation Elixir. Zenyuanzi felt the young man's sincerity. He took the elixir and glanced at it. He smiled bitterly in his heart. If I didn't blow up all the ginseng fruits in order to defeat Nether River, I wouldn't need such an inferior elixir. He swallowed the elixir. The vitality of the Eternal Creation Elixir helped Zenyuanzi recover a little. He could use the ginseng fruit tree and the earth book now. Thank you for the elixir. Zenyuanzi turned over and stood up. He smiled at the young man in green. May I know your name? I'll repay you generously for giving me the elixir today. I'm Liu. The young man in green had a simple smile on his face. You don't need to repay me generously. I didn't save you for anything. I'm cultivating merits and doing good deeds. I saved you for one good deed a day. Ha! One good deed a day. Zenyuanzi laughed and had a good impression of this simple young man. He was ready to give him a good opportunity and repay him generously. If Zenyuanzi knew that he was so miserable because of this simple young man, he would vomit blood. Chapter 1336. How did Liu trick Zenyuanzi? It seemed to be a normal thing without any trace of a conspiracy, but in fact, it was made by Liu. Remember the gourd fragments? These gourd fragments were all made by Liu, and each of them was loaded with a blank system. Zenyuanzi used the gourd fragments that Liu had tampered with to perform the Red Cloud's secret method to sense the descendant of Red Cloud and the so-called reincarnation of Red Cloud. The result was the target designated by Liu. The gourd fragments were all made by Liu, so of course, whoever Liu said the target was. Every successful scam is built on the basis of information asymmetry. This was Li Da's self-conclusion. Zenyuanzi used the right method to get the wrong information, so it was inevitable that he would fall into the fire pit. Liu had two purposes to trick Zenyuanzi. One was to give Liu a powerful background so that he could rise up in the open. The other purpose was to get the secret of Red Cloud that Zenyuanzi had mastered. In the untainted world, Zenyuanzi was the closest to Red Cloud. Liu wanted to find the Hong Meng immortal Qi, and Zenyuanzi was a suitable breakthrough point. Young hero. After a while, Xinyuanzi, who had recovered some of his strength, stood up and bowed to Li Yu. He took out a cyan jade pendant and handed it to Li Yu. I can't repay you for your help this time. You're welcome. You're welcome. Li Yu hurriedly declined. I didn't save you for your repayment. You don't have to do this, sir. Huh. Young hero, you're so pure and kind. It's really rare. Xinyuanzi nodded in admiration. However, although your foundation is solid, your cultivation method is a little shallow. Your method can only be practiced to the primordial unity, genuine immortal realm at most, and there's a huge risk. With that, Xinyuanzi waved the jade pendant in his hand. I don't have anything valuable on me, and this jade pendant is not a treasure. It's just a token. The Western Heok states Qianyuan Mountain will open its gates to recruit disciples next month. This token of mine will allow you to enter the Qianyuan Mountain. Qianyuan Mountain? What is that place? Li Yu looked at Xinyuanzi in confusion. He really didn't know what Qianyuan Mountain was. The Heavenly Cloud Mountain is the fifth manor of the 10,000 Years Mountain, the ancestor of the Earth Immortals, the same ruler as the world, the sect of the great immortal Xinyuan. Don't tell me you haven't heard of Xinyuanzi? If you enter Qianyuan Mountain and perform well, it's not impossible for Grand Immortal Xinyuan to take you in as an inner disciple. As Xinyuanzi spoke, a trace of embarrassment flashed across his face. Even Xinyuanzi himself felt a little embarrassed for boasting so much. Grand Immortal Xinyuan? If I enter Qianyuan Mountain, I will have a chance to become a disciple of Grand Immortal Xinyuan. Li Yu had an extremely happy look on his face. He was so excited that his entire body was trembling. Haha, I didn't expect this young man to admire me so much. Seeing Li Yu's performance, Xinyuanzi was secretly pleased and smiled while stroking his beard. In fact, Li Yu just had a hard time holding back his laughter. I have some friendship with Qianyuan Mountain. Take the jade pendant and go to Qianyuan Mountain to learn from your master. Xinyuanzi handed the jade pendant to Li Yu and smiled with cupped hands. I'm very grateful for your help. I still have something important to do, so I'll take my leave first. If fate wills it, I'll see you next time. Thank you, senior. Li Yu put away the jade pendant and cupped his hand with a smile. Take care, senior. The green light flashed, and Xinyuanzi's figure instantly broke through the void and disappeared. Qianyuan Mountain? I've never heard of this place. Could it be that Xinyuanzi casually created a Qianyuan Mountain in order to fool me? Li Yu's understanding of Xinyuanzi stopped at the 5 Villages Temple and the ginseng fruit. He really didn't know if there was really such a Qianyuan Mountain. Anyway, I'm torturing Xinyuanzi so that this alias can obtain a better background and be able to rise openly. Qianyuan Mountain it is. Picking up the jade pendant, Li Yu looked at it and smiled again. Xinyuanzi really has nothing. How is this a jade pendant? It's clearly a leaf of the ginseng fruit tree. Well, the leaf of the ginseng fruit tree was much more valuable than the jade pendant. He picked up the leaf of the ginseng fruit tree that had turned into a jade pendant and touched it with his soul. A map appeared in the jade pendant. It was the location of Qianyuan Mountain. As expected, there is no Qianyuan Mountain. This is clearly the edge of the Longevity Mountain. Li Yu had been to the 5 Villages Temple of the Longevity Mountain not long after he came to the Untainted Land. Although he only went to the 5 Villages Temple and did not travel all over the Longevity Mountain, Li Yu saw clearly that this so-called Qianyuan Mountain was only a part of the Longevity Mountain. The Longevity Mountain is Xinyuanzi's nest. I didn't notice it last time, but it seems that there really is such a sect. As a sage-to-be, Xinyuanzi could be considered a top figure in the Untainted Land. He shouldn't only have 2 Taoist children, Qing Feng and Mingyu, and not even a disciple, right? Without a disciple, he had to do everything himself. This was too unsuitable for a sage-to-be. Mingyi had created a blood sea demon sect, and Kuan Peng had occupied the northern underworld and ruled the northern underworld water demons. Hao Ian even controlled the heavenly court. Xinyuanzi only had one sect, which was already considered shabby. Then let's go to Qianyuan Mountain. The Two Worlds Pass was very far away from the Longevity Mountain. With Li Yu's cultivation, even if he flew all the way without sleeping or resting, it would take about half a month to reach the so-called Qianyuan Mountain. A month later, the Qianyuan Mountain would open its doors and recruit disciples. Therefore, Li Yu could only set off immediately. Releasing a light and soaring into the sky, Li Yu found the right direction and rushed toward the Qianyuan Mountain. Ah, it hurts! Ah, help! 3 days later, when Li Yu was flying on his sword, he suddenly heard a cry for help from the cliff below. Li Yu paused and turned to look at the cliff below. Seeing a white-haired old man lying on the ground, he raised his eyebrows and almost blurted out, "Wheat bastard. *T. Xinyuanzi is testing me." Li Yu saw that the white-haired old man was clearly Xinyuanzi in disguise. Li Yu's Chaos Eye was a passive skill. As long as he didn't fully release the Chaos Eye, he could see the essence of some things and wouldn't attract attention. Therefore, Li Yu clearly saw that the white-haired old man was clearly Xinyuanzi, who had just left. "Bastard, I tricked you. Are you going to trick me back?" Li Yu was extremely depressed, but he had to follow the script. It was really frustrating. Xinyuanzi was an old ghost who had lived for billions of years. Xinyuanzi didn't believe Li Yu's one good deed a day. This was testing him. Chapter 1337. Old man, what's wrong with you? Li Yu, who had accumulated virtue, was naturally righteous. Without hesitation, he hurriedly landed beside the white-haired old man and asked with a concerned expression, I was bitten by a venomous snake when I went into the mountain to pick herbs." The white-haired old man was dying. His face was a little black, and he pointed to his calf with difficulty. "Help! Help! Old man, don't worry. I will save you." What was the saying? You had to finish your appointment, even if you had to hold back tears. Xinyuanzi fell into the trap, and Li Yu also fell into the trap. This was simply, damn it, Li Yu, who was simple and kind by nature, could only try his best to save this white-haired old man. However, you want to play with me? You can come up with any questions. I have plenty of ways. Wasn't it just snake venom? How big of a deal was the detoxification pill? The system could make a bunch of them for you. Li Yu sneered inwardly. He took out a pill bottle and poured out a pill. Old man, this is the detoxification pill. You'll be detoxified after taking this pill. He helped the white-haired old man up and put the pill into his mouth. The pill spread, and the snake venom was instantly removed. "Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master." Since the poison had been removed, Xinyuanzi couldn't pretend anymore. So the white-haired old man was saved. He was overjoyed and grateful, and he quickly kowtowed to Li Yu. Logically, Li Yu would definitely stop the white-haired old man. However, Xinyuanzi, if you want to play games with me, I will let you kowtow first. When the white-haired old man kowtowed, Li Yu was putting away the pill bottle and didn't seem to see it. So, Xinyuanzi gloomily found that if he wanted to play the role well, he could only kowtow for real. "Oh, old man, you can't. When Xinyuanzi finished kowtowing, Li Yu happened to put away the pill bottle. He seemed to have just reacted and quickly helped the white-haired old man up. "Elder, the snake venom in your body has been neutralized. Junior still has matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first." Li Yu smiled and cupped his fists. Then, he turned around and left. He rode a streak of light and soared into the sky. This kid is really pure and kind. Looking up at Li Yu's receding figure, Xinyuanzi frowned. What he did just now didn't seem to be a disguise. But we still need to test it out. With a flash, the white-haired old man disappeared. Then, *TCH, give me your life. A few days later, when Li Yu had entered the depths of the western Heox state, he suddenly saw two figures rushing out from behind a mountain in front of him. The person at the front was fleeing in a hurry. It was a beautiful woman in white with unparalleled beauty. Behind the white-robed woman was a demon with a lion's head and a human's body. He raised a huge spiked club and rode a demonic wind as he chased after her. Lion Camel King, I have no enmity with you. You coveted my treasure, so how could you do such a thing? Her clothes were disheveled, and her face was pale. She angrily rebuked and fled in a hurry. Intentionally or otherwise, she actually charged in Li Yu's direction. I'll cut the grass. Xinyuanzi, that's enough. In Li Yu's eyes, the so-called unparalleled beauty in white was clearly that old bastard Xinyuanzi in disguise. You're an old man, but you're playing with women's clothes. I am. My eyes are going blind. I'm going blind. At this moment, Li Yu suddenly regretted seeing through the truth. As a quasi-sage, it wasn't strange that Xinyuanzi knew a bit of transformation ability. However, no matter how powerful the transformation ability was, it could only change one's body. Clothes were real clothes. Therefore, when Li Yu saw through the truth in his eyes that old bastard Xinyuanzi was wearing women's clothes and acting coy over there. What an eyesore! Insolent demon! How dare you commit such a crime in broad daylight? Suppressing his disgust, the righteous Li Yu let out a righteous roar. He waved his hand and unsheathed his longsword. A strong, upright, and tenacious green pine sword chi pierced through the air and into the clouds. Pine needle sword rain. Break! The sword light trembled. Above the tall and verdant pine tree, there was a sudden burst of green light that filled the sky. The dense sword chi of pine needles, like a storm, shot towards the head of the Lion Camel King. Where did this wild brat come from? How dare you interfere with my business? With a roar, the lion-headed brute's body exploded with yellow light, turning into a giant yellow lion. It roared at the sky, and the wind howled, the sound waves shaking the world. Lion's roar. This was the Lion Camel King's innate ability. The roar shook the world, and the sound waves swept across all directions. Rumble. The surrounding mountains were shattered by this roar. Li Yu's pine needle sword energy exploded and disappeared without a trace. Not only that, this vast sound wave carried the power to pulverize everything, sweeping towards Li Yu. Shit! Xinyuanzi, what the F***ck are you doing? Li Yu's current avatar was only at the level of an immortal. He could only be considered at the bottom of the immortal realm. This Lion Camel King was at least at the sky immortal realm. Above the immortal realm was the earth immortal, and above that was the sky immortal realm. In this situation, Li Yu's disguise was actually allowed to challenge the Lion Camel King with the strength of an immortal 2 levels above him. Don't let go of the mountain, take root in the broken rock. Since he'd fallen into the trap, he had to finish the fight even if he had to hold back his tears. Li Yu roared angrily and swung his long sword. The verdant and tall pine trees soared into the sky, bursting with a clear radiance. Tenacious, unyielding, unforgiving, the vast and mighty pine sword chi was like a strong pine tree that stood proudly at the peak of the mountain, tall and straight, unyielding, upright and firm. Boom! The Lion Camel King's mighty sound wave was blocked by this sword. Although it was difficult, although he barely managed to block this move, Li Yu's face was pale, and blood seeped from the corner of his mouth. However, the Lion Camel King's lion roar, the innate ability of a sky immortal realm demon, was blocked by an immortal realm cultivator. This kid, he has such a temperament, he has such swordsmanship. Xinyuanzi, who had turned into a woman in white, was shocked by Li Yu's swordsmanship talent. Xinyuanzi only wanted Lion Camel King to use force to intimidate Li Yu. He wanted to see how Li Yu would perform in the face of a great enemy. He didn't want Li Yu to block this attack. Xinyuanzi was satisfied to see Li Yu not backing down. He was about to block the Lion Camel King's lion roar when he realized that Li Yu's sword was almost enough to block the attack. Young master, the Lion Camel King's cultivation is profound. Run. The woman in white looked at Li Yu with gratitude. She rushed to Li Yu's side and grabbed Li Yu. Thank you for your help, young master. Let's go. With that, the woman in white waved her hand and shot out a golden light. With a boom, sword light filled the sky. I've self-destructed my sword pill. It can block the Lion Camel King for a while. Let's run. The woman in white pulled Li Yu and shot into the sky. Chapter 1338. Roar. The lion camel king's howl shook the heavens. However, the lady in white, and Li Yu had already run far away. Thank you, the lady in white, was about to thank him when she was interrupted by Li Yu. Who are you? Li Yu gripped the hilt of his sword and stared coldly at the woman in white. His expression was extremely unfriendly. Young master, what is the meaning of this? The woman in white was shocked. She didn't know what Li Yu meant. With Xinyuanzi's cultivation, he was very confident that Li Yu would not be able to see through his transformation. You're still pretending? I saw you being chased by demons, so I pulled out my sword to help. Who knew? Hee. You didn't need my help at all. You could have escaped long ago. Li Yu snorted. The sword pill you just released could have stopped the Lion Camel King. Why didn't you release it earlier? Sword pills are precious. More precious than your life? If so, why did you throw it out just now? Li Yu snorted and waved his hand. Forget it. I can't be bothered with your business. Goodbye. In fact, Li Yu was too lazy to play games with Xinyuanzi. He found a random reason to throw a tantrum and confuse him so that he could escape. With a flick of his sleeve, Li Yu flew into the air and rushed far away. Sigh. Xinyuanzi was stunned for a while before realizing that Li Yu was already far away. Xinyuanzi had prepared a beauty falling in love, or something like that, but found that he could no longer continue. All right, at least this shows that this kid is brave and smart, and has a pure nature. Not bad. Xinyuanzi smiled and did not plan to continue testing him. He had gained a lot from testing him twice. Plus, Li Yu had found a loophole in the sword pill explosion. This meant that he was already alert. If he continued testing him, he might be seen through. That would be the opposite of what he wanted. Phew, it's finally over. Li Yu heaved a sigh of relief when there were no more so-called tests in the later part of the journey. Xinyuanzi's cross-dressing figure was too much of an eyesore. Li Yu said that he absolutely could not tolerate it. If Xinyuanzi came again, Li Yu didn't know if he would be unable to resist beating him up. Without Xinyuanzi's interference, Li Yu's journey was very smooth. 20 days later, when a vast mountain range appeared in front of Li Yu, he knew that he had arrived. Strange peaks were spread out in all directions, and the great mountains were towering. This was a huge mountain range that stretched for thousands of miles. In the distance, in the center of the mountain range, there was a huge mountain. It seemed to be able to support the heavens and the earth, piercing straight into the clouds. This mountain was the 10,000 Years Mountain. However, Longevity Mountain was shrouded in mist. Ordinary cultivators couldn't see its location at all. Li Yu's current location was at the western end of the mountain range. There was still a long way to go before he reached the peak of Longevity Mountain in the middle. At the western end of the Longevity Mountain was the so-called Qianyuan Mountain. Strange peaks and waterfalls flowed. An ancient and majestic mountain gate stood tall and imposing. On the stone wall in front of the mountain, the words Qianyuan Mountain shone brightly under the sunlight. At this moment, thousands of cultivators were gathered at the foot of Qianyuan Mountain. There were human cultivators, as well as a few demon beasts. At this moment, these cultivators had set up camp outside Qianyuan Mountain, waiting for the Qianyuan Mountain to open its doors and recruit disciples. Even though there were thousands of people gathered outside Qianyuan Mountain, the surroundings were quiet and peaceful. There was no fighting, and even the demons who were usually enemies were very calm. Xinyuanzi really does have the aura of an earth immortal. Li Yu smiled as he walked into the vast campsite, and he casually found a place to rest at the side of a small lake while waiting for the Qianyuan Mountain's disciple recruitment ceremony to begin. Great Tao Qianyuan. After waiting for a few days, a bright light burst out from Qianyuan Mountain one morning, and a mighty voice resounded through the sky. Amidst the light, an auspicious cloud flew out of Qianyuan Mountain and hung high in the sky. A Taoist priest with a feathered crown and a craned cloak stood on the cloud with a horsetail whisk in his hand. He looked at the people outside the mountain gate with a smile. I, Qian Mingzi, am the Foreign Affairs Elder of Qianyuan Mountain. This Qianyuan conference will be hosted by I. Greetings, immortal Qian Mingzi. The group of cultivators outside the mountain gate bowed respectfully towards Qian Mingzi. Qian Mingzi? His cultivation is somewhat similar to the aura of the ginseng fruit tree, but his essence is much worse. It seems that the inheritance of Qianyuan Mountain is probably the cultivation method that Xinyuanzi comprehended from the ginseng fruit tree. Liu followed the crowd and cupped his hands in salute. However, he was secretly observing Qian Mingzi. The rules of the Qianyuan conference are the same as before. Qian Mingzi took out a scroll and waved it. The scroll burst out with light and slowly floated down. Boom! When the scroll fell outside Qianyuan Mountain, there was a loud bang. In the sky outside Qianyuan Mountain, an immortal mansion palace hidden in the white clouds appeared. The white clouds drifted leisurely, and in the clouds and mist, there was a staircase hidden in the clouds and mist. The railings were carved with white jade, and the ground was paved with green jade. The beautiful staircase went up to the clouds and reached the immortal mansion palace. Cultivators below the immortal realm who can enter Qianyuan sect are qualified. Cultivators above the immortal realm who have already formed the foundation to practice the cultivation method of our sect is not easy. Generally speaking, we don't accept such cultivators. However, the great Tao is ruthless, but there's a glimmer of hope. If you have a great opportunity, great perseverance, great wisdom, and great courage, you can climb the heaven staircase and break through the heaven road. If you can reach the top, you can also enter the sect. Qian Mingzi said and pointed. On the other side of the staircase, there was a steep and narrow rugged mountain road full of thorns. Heaven staircase? Heaven road? Liu raised his eyes to look at the rugged mountain road in front of him and frowned slightly. Could it be that this fellow Zhen Yuanzi came here specially to torment me? Is he taking revenge on me? Climb the heaven staircase and break through the heaven road? Haha! Since the establishment of Qianyuan Mountain, there has only been one person who has been able to climb the heaven staircase and break through the heaven road. That is the last direct disciple of the earth immortal ancestor, Taoist Qian Yuan, of Qianyuan Mountain's Cold Abyss Cave. Just as Liu frowned and looked at the so-called heaven road, he heard a white-robed cultivator beside him discussing with someone. Yes, the heaven staircase can't be climbed, and the heaven road can't be broken through. For so many years, besides Taoist Qian Yuan, no one has climbed the heaven staircase and broken through the heaven road. This road is already a dead end. Another cultivator echoed. That's why it's not a good thing to become an immortal too early. With the low-level cultivation method of small sect, even if one becomes an immortal, they won't be able to go far on the path of cultivation. Is that so? Hearing the discussion of these two people, Liu smiled. He knew that this was not Zhen Yuanzi deliberately tricking him, so he didn't care. As for not being able to break through the heaven road, haha, since someone had already succeeded, Liu had absolute confidence. With his ability, how could he be worse than that Taoist Gue Qian Yuan? Chapter 1339. Fellow cultivators, the Qianyuan assembly has officially begun. Qian Mingzi, who was standing in the clouds, waved his horsetail whisk and said loudly to the cultivators below, according to the old rules, cultivators of the immortal realm and above can ascend the stairway to heaven first. As he spoke, Qian Mingzi glanced at the crowd below and asked loudly, "Are there any immortal realm cultivators who want to learn from me? Are there any immortal realm cultivators who want to ascend the stairway to heaven and challenge the gate of heaven?" After his question, there was silence all around. Actually, I also know that no one has come to challenge the gate of heaven. However, this is the rule, so I still have to ask first. All right, if there's no one, we will... Qian Mingzi smiled and shook his head. Suddenly, he saw a young man in a green robe walking out of the crowd. This was a handsome young man who looked to be in his teens. Yes, he was in his teens. Although there were all kinds of old monsters in the Eldritch world with different appearances, there were many who looked like teenagers, and even many who looked like children. However, Qian Mingzi did not just distinguish age from appearance. He clearly saw that this young man's bone development stage was only in his teens. Young man, don't be impatient. The entrance assembly has to wait for a while. In Qian Mingzi's opinion, this young man should be a little impatient and walked out in advance. He did not think that this young man was going to challenge the gate of heaven and ascend the stairway to heaven. Wait for a while. This young man in a green robe was naturally Li Yu. Li Yu pointed in the direction of the stairway to heaven and looked at Qian Mingzi in confusion. Didn't you say that cultivators of the immortal realm and above can ascend the stairway to heaven first? What? You entered the immortal realm? You want to ascend the stairway to heaven? Hearing Li Yu's answer, Qian Mingzi was shocked. Firstly, this young man in his teens had actually entered the immortal realm. This level of talent was already extremely shocking. Secondly, someone actually wanted to ascend the stairway to heaven and challenge the gate of heaven. How many years had it been? How many years had it been since something like this happened? Could it be that he did not know that apart from Tao Master Qian Yuan, no one else had challenged the gate of heaven since the establishment of Qian Yuan Mountain? Ascending the stairway to heaven and challenge the gate? Someone actually challenged the gate of heaven. The cultivators outside Qian Yuan Mountain were all surprised and looked at the green-robed youth in front of them with pity. What a pity! To be able to ascend to the immortal realm in his teens, his talent was extraordinary. Unfortunately, his background is too poor, and he can't obtain the true technique of the great Tao. He won't be able to go far on the path of cultivation. Yes, the gate of heaven cannot be broken through. This person has no chance of entering the sect. There's a time when being too talented isn't a good thing. Look, if it wasn't for the fact that his aptitude was too good and he hadn't ascended to the immortal realm, it would have been much easier for him to enter the sect. Some sighed, some sympathized, and some gloated. In the eyes of everyone, it was absolutely impossible for Li Yu to ascend the heavenly stairway, pass through the heaven entrance, and enter Qianyuan Mountain in the end to become a disciple of the earthly immortal realm's ancestor. It is indeed a pity. Qian Mingzi glanced at Li Yu and sighed inwardly. If his aptitude was slightly worse, if he didn't cultivate that hard and didn't advance to the immortal stage, it wouldn't be hard for him to enter the sect. Now it's a pity. Zhenren Qianming, can you climb the stairway to heaven now? Li Yu pointed at the stairway to heaven, in front of him with a smile on his face. He was calm and unruffled, as if he did not care about the discussions of the crowd. Of course. Qian Mingzi returned to his senses and nodded with a smile. Of course you can. Thank you, Zhenren. Li Yu nodded and cupped his hands before walking towards the entrance of the stairway to heaven. His footsteps were calm and unhurried, as if he was taking an idle stroll in a courtyard. It was neither fast nor slow. It seemed as if it wasn't the stairway to heaven that was difficult to ascend, but a broad path. Young man, wait a moment. When Li Yu arrived at the entrance of the stairway to heaven and was about to take a step, Qian Mingzi suddenly stopped him. What instructions do you have, Zhenren? Li Yu turned around and asked with a bewildered expression. Oh, there's still one more procedure. Qian Mingzi nodded with a smile, and then he waved his hand and a jade slip floated out to descend into Li Yu's hand. You haven't recorded your name. Recorded my name? Zhenren Qianming actually asked him to record his name. It's utterly hopeless to pass through the gate of heaven. Doesn't Qianyuan Mountain never record the name of such a cultivator? Seeing that Qian Mingzi took out a jade slip and asked Li Yu to record his name, the cultivators were astonished. Only now did you remember that you haven't asked for my name? Li Yu smiled slightly and reached out to touch the jade slip. With a turn of his spiritual power, he recorded his name and origin on the jade slip. Li Yu, Nanjian Department State, Great Shang of the Central Region, Yongzhou Prefecture, Qingshan Sect. Qian Mingzi took the jade slip and saw the name and origin written on it. He nodded slightly. Okay, Now you can climb the stairway to heaven and pass through the gate of heaven. Thank you, Jinren. Liu cupped his hands and stepped into the entrance of the stairway to heaven. Buzz! With a trembling sound and a flash of clouds, Liu passed through a screen of light and entered the rugged stairway to heaven. Liu, what a pity. Well, since you can't climb the stairway to heaven and pass through the gate of heaven, I will introduce you to a better place. It's a pity to bury such a talent and such a disposition. Putting the jade slip into his sleeve, Qian Mingzi looked at Liu, who stepped onto the stairway to heaven, and sighed in his heart. How could Qian Mingzi not know the difficulty of the stairway to heaven and the gate of heaven? Back then, immortal Qian Yuan succeeded in passing through the gate of heaven and became the 48th successor disciple of Wu Zhuangguan. The other brothers also had some interest in the gate of heaven, and each of them had tried to pass through it privately. No one succeeded. Except for Qian Mingzi, no one else had succeeded in passing through the 9 gates of heaven. To climb the stairway to heaven and pass through the gate of heaven, one must have the opportunity, perseverance, wisdom, and courage. Even Qian Mingzi, who had succeeded in passing through the gate of heaven, admitted that he had relied on luck to pass through the gate of heaven. If he had to do it again, there was no possibility for him to pass. I wonder how many gates of heaven he can pass through. Qian Mingzi looked at the figure who was trudging on the rugged mountain road and sighed. He shook his head. Well, these cultivators below the immortal realm are about to start the entrance test. The entrance test is about to start. Please report your names and origins. Qian Mingzi waved his sleeve, and countless jade slips flew out from his sleeve and fell into the hands of the cultivators below, allowing them to record their names and origins. Very good. The registration has been completed. All of you, boom. While Qian Mingzi was speaking, suddenly, a loud sound shook the heaven and earth, and the sky was filled with multicolored light. Amidst the colorful rays of light, a magnificent and splendid gatehouse appeared in the air, shrouded in the clouds. The majestic and gorgeous gate opened, and a young man in a green robe stepped into the gate. He passed through the first gate of heaven so fast. Qian Mingzi turned his head and saw the young man in a green robe who had calmly stepped through the gate of heaven. He was so shocked that his mouth was wide open and did not recover for a long time. That year, even junior brother Qian Yuan was not so fast. This is pass through the first gate of heaven. There is actually someone who can pass through the gate of heaven. Really too powerful. Yes, other than Qian Yuan Jinren. No one has ever successfully passed through the first gate of heaven. Everyone present was dumbfounded by the scene of him successfully passing the trial. Actually, I don't want to act tough. Liu stepped through the gate of heaven and smiled with his hands behind his back. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.